Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello all. Hello all. How are we doing today? We are back and up and running in a little bit better way. Oh, my lighting's off and everything. Everything's weird. But we are here and we are rolling. Let me see if I can get my lights going.
Good times.
Oh, there we go. Now the lights are rolling. Anyway, we are back and everything seems to be running the way we want it to. And we're reviewing movies. Hey, what's going on, Joker? Good to see you guys. Saw you guys in the chat before we started there. We got Smash Bros. And Joker in the chat. They're saying hello.
Nice, nice.
Um, and we are here to review some movies. And Smash Bros. Is especially excited because, nope, no spoilers right now. We've got these three movies that we're going to review tonight. We've got Love and Monsters, Evil Dead 2013, and The Warriors. And then, of course, we're going to just talk about whatever as well because, well, we talk about whatever. So, how have you been, Ed, since last week? Everything going well?
I've been good. Things have been a little bit up in the air, and a little bit unpredictable. But I'm hoping that things will be a little more smooth now that we got things ironed out. The whole Minecraft stream was fun, but I also got kind of distracted running around, spawning donkeys and flying.
The Warriors is at the end. Smash Bros. Commented. Glad you're hyped, Joker. This is going to be fun. It's exciting. I enjoy talking about movies a lot. And yes, now that the stream is back to normal, Ed, I totally agree. It feels better. Feels more natural. I got my fry guy, sitting right over there now, and he's talking to me again instead of just some rando character in Minecraft running around and throwing donkeys at me. That was really weird. Anyway, um, as Arnie said, I'll be back. That's awesome. Have fun. We'll
But
see you in
not
a little bit.
not just throwing donkeys. Remember, I was punching them too.
That's right, punching and throwing donkeys on Valentine's Day, which, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, we are doing Valentine's Day tonight with Love and Monsters. Um, you got to be a mod. That's all good. We are a Twitch community. If you guys want to come and go and tour and whatever you want to do, that's great. We love the support. Thank you for being here, even at the beginning of the stream. It's awesome. So much love. Um, but we do have some movies to talk about, and I'm excited because you want to hear what I have to say? That's awesome. That's great. Ed is, of course, Mr. Fry Guy, and or the Fry Guy, if you will. And I am MrSnidBitS, and that guy right there. Let me see if I can point to him. I'm not good at that. That guy, that little guy right there. That's SnidBitS the elephant, and he doesn't get much love because, well, people don't know who he is. But he's my mascot, if you will. Um, Fry Guy has his mascot. It might be obvious, but I think it's great. It should be obvious sometimes, I think. What do you think, Ed? Do you like your mascot of fries with glasses?
I do. I think it's freaking rad, man.
I was pretty happy with it. So um, thank you for being a friend. Okay, sorry. I'll stop doing that. Um,
Yeah, don't get us copyright claim, man.
oh, that's a good point. Oh, ooh, ooh. Oh, I'm so sorry. No. So we're gonna talk about Love and
Can't
Monsters.
serenade us with those dulcet tones.
Right. We're going to talk about Love and Monsters, and we are likely to spoil things. So we do have a spoiler alert that we'll put up, which is right here. You'll see this when we do get into spoiler territory. That'll, of course, give everybody a chance to mute us so that we can talk about what we want without hurting anybody's chance to view the film raw. And then when we drop that banner, that'll be out of the spoiler territory. So that's a common theme on the show. You'll see that. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the posters so we can just chat about the films right now without worrying about things. And let's kick it off with Love and Monsters. I'd love it if you'd start, Fry Guy.
Oh man. All right, what do you even say about this thing? So this was one of those COVID films that was supposed to hit theaters, but everything shut down. So it went. It's not quite straight to video because you know the type. The type that's like either the red box special or like you keep seeing previews in your non-skippable ads before you want to watch something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I just want to learn how to freaking unclog a drain.
Right.
This was not one of those. This should have been experienced in theaters, and I kind of really wish I could have. Um, but man, this movie was a gas. It's a romantic comedy, action adventure flick that's following the story of two people who were together before an event happened. It separated them. They rekindled in little bunkers. and colonies of people surviving a disaster or calamity involving monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And then this guy goes on a quest to find his love. There you go, love, monsters. Um, it's not so often you see films that, as far as I'm aware, don't come from a premise that's like an adaptation, or it's a simple enough story that like the structure's just that like calamity happens, that's not even the central focus of the film. Guy that has lived a mostly sheltered life wants to go do this extraordinary thing to see some person that he had strong attachments to.
Right.
There's just a lot of good things about these films, and I feel like this one and Rear Window and a couple of the movies we've unintentionally covered are good pandemic movies. Because like there's a lot of times where I watch a movie and they do a thing, and I always think like, oh man, that sounds like a really cool thing to do. And having been freaking cooped up for a year and change, like just watching this guy explore uh desolate ruins that like collapsed civilization, which is kind of how this all felt at the beginning, was cathartic. And for the cause of love, I thought, I was like, I was down for this even before we got to like the fun meat and potatoes of the film. So I'm super stoked. I'm glad we put this on the roster.
No, for sure. Like I'm not going to give my. Well, I'm going to try to save that because I don't want to reveal too much as I go. So for me, this film, you laid it out very perfectly. But when you talked about meat and potatoes, this film really brought the meat and potatoes. It wasn't just the outline. It wasn't just good character development, but that actor, I don't even know who that guy is. The guy that plays Joel, dude, he brings it from beginning to end. Like I believe that character 100% of the way through the film.
So
and I love
this
him.
guy's got a TV background. I was asking my wife about who he is. Apparently he's from Teen Wolf and a couple other shows that were like big in his adolescence, and this was like his first big movie thing. He's
Okay.
done some stuff and he's got a name, but like this was his breakout thing. That's why his name's on the poster and he's like front and center.
Interesting.
And as far as like a first outing, I think he freaking crushed it.
I agree. I liked all the predictability was still, because something would happen. I'd go, okay, this means this is going to happen. Of course, they would deliver, but not necessarily in the most obvious way. And the tropes have been exhausted, but they did a fun refreshing of all those tropes. And it also made me feel like, man, why is it I'd rather live in the apocalypse, kind of than now through this? Like, at least that's people are cool and and there's I don't know, it just felt cooler than
because as bleak as it all was, there was still like inspirational things to be had, like beauty and stuff. And one of my favorite thing about these kind of genres of movies is like I was totally swept up in the world and wanted to know more about it right away.
Okay, we've talked about that before, and I said the same thing to my wife. I turned and I said, this needs to be a larger world. And I said, who are the director and who are the producer? We need to fight them to get more on screen because I need to see more of those critters. Those critters are freaking amazing, and they're our world.
It needs a game or like a mod in another game or something.
A game would be cool. There is a book.
So, good to know.
Yeah, and it's on Amazon. Oh, plug for Amazon. Well, it's a plug for Twitch. So there you go.
You're welcome, Bezos.
There you go.
Formerly Bezos.
Yeah, now it's anyway, we're gonna move on. So Love and Monsters also reminded me of a few things. It reminded me wholly of, have you seen Love, Death and Robots?
Seen parts. I had another friend try to get me to watch it. I've seen like the first 4 or 5.
Okay. That's good.
I've seen the robot episode that had the cats in it. I've seen the weird kind of Event Horizon one that takes place in like that weird, no spoilers reveal thing. Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. I'm down for it. I just got distracted. I literally went to like a freaking party, but I'm not really social. And my friend from high school saw me just not having a good time. He's like, "Hey, you should watch this weird thing." And so he put it on while everyone else socialized. And I was like, "Oh, this is rad." And then I ended up leaving.
You should finish it. It is on Netflix, so it's a Netflix show. And if you watch through the whole thing, Love and Monsters felt like a live action like one of the various stories to me.
That's rad.
In there, it felt like it pulled right out of it, because Love and Monsters or Love, Death and Robots takes place on our world, just in various iterations of our world. And that's exactly what Love and Monsters is.
Okay. I wondered it seemed like some sort of animatrix type thing.
Yeah,
So I
it's like
wondered if there
Heavy
was a
Metal.
connection.
I always go back to
Okay.
Heavy Metal, which was like the first anthology cartoon. Not really the first, but the first the one that people love, and it's called classic. There are ones before that. Have you ever heard of the movie Wizards?
Wizards,
Wizards.
Wizards,
and not the Wizard, not the Fred Savage film.
Yeah, I've seen The Wizard. Wizards does not sound familiar though.
Wizards has a cover where it's a dude that's wearing an all red jumpsuit and he has cartoon eyes, and he's carrying around an assault rifle, and he rides this weird like two-legged camel-y looking creature, and it's our dystopian future, and the dude on the cover's name is Peace, but he's an assassin robot. This was made in the 1970s.
Oh.
Absolutely bizarre. It's literally about two wizard brothers. One is just basically Adolf Hitler, but in a skeleton wizard form, and then the other one is supposed to be the good guy, but he's not that great of a person, and they're battling for good and evil, but it's really like okay versus evil, which is fantastic, and it's way over the top. It's animated with some live action clips thrown in from our real world, but it takes place. So instead of the normal like Tolkien, you start at the fairies and you lose magic as time goes on until now, this is actually magic starts after us. So the world goes into a kind of a nature recession, if you will, where everything goes back and then magic pops up, and then they unearth what we did and include that. So it's very forward thinking as well. It's very odd, but it's somewhat psychedelic. It's very good though. So
I'll have to give that a shot.
I figured you might like it because it's pretty awesome. But it's also bizarre and full of 70s tropes. So keep that in mind. Maybe we should do a 70s month or something where we just watch 70s films.
Heck yeah, I would love to revisit that.
There's a whole thing about that era, and I don't think we should watch movies that are paying homage to. Like, literally, the movie had to be made between 1970 and 1979.
Well, it's a damn shame we did the Warriors thing, because that would have fit perfectly in there.
Agreed, but we're also doing classics, so that one now won't work because we've already done it. And we are going to critique it tonight.
So all those just going to be 70s movies, no new?
We wouldn't do new. We would do nothing but 70s movies. So that's kind of like what we're going to do next month. The next month is going to be all all monster movies. So we're going to do monster movies for a month. And that's why I was like, Love and Monsters would have been great for that, because it really is a monster movie. Totally a monster movie. And I love that about it. But it's also a romantic comedy. And I love that about it.
Well, the monsters aren't the central focus. They're just the dressing. The dressing's just really damn good, which is what I like about it.
I just have to say that the stone back, no, the boulder snails were dope.
Yeah.
I like snails anyway. So there were some critters though that I was like, I don't know what that is in real life. What is that? Because they're all based on our world. So I love that. But what were some of those things? Like the things underground?
Well, I think they're just amalgamations. Like one was a frog, one was some kind of ant, one was like a mud skipper.
I would argue that one was a toad, not a frog.
Wow, you're just doing semantics now, but I'm just saying that they're based on a thing with okay. Do you want to get into spoilers already?
I mean, we can, and of course that's why we have our spoiler warning, and I'm ready on it when you're ready.
Okay, let's do that.
Spoilers up. Be prepared if you don't want to get spoiled for Love and Monsters. Mute for a moment.
Now, this is just general flyby spoilers, but it will still ruin some story beats. The ones that retain the most animalistic qualities are the ones that were the good ones, we find out. The ones that still look like something you can identify from our world now were the ones that had...
You still there?
Had natured, vibes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, I just heard somebody else weirdly. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then they give you the warning. They tell you, look at the eyes. And so if they have real soulful eyes, and in my opinion, what I noticed and picked up, if they still look like critters, just big ass critters, they're probably going to be good monsters.
That's fair. Although, I don't know, the centipede looked pretty centipede-like. So, and it wasn't very friendly. So
But it had no eyes.
that's fair. It had its feelers though, and
That thing was blind.
dude, I was literally like, "Don't let it touch you! Don't let it touch you! Don't let it touch you!"
Oh god,
That's what I was feeling the whole
That
time.
scene was so that was a great set piece too, because that scene, like, as far, because I didn't know anything about this freaking film going into it, I was like, oh shit, is he about to like eat it right now?
Right. Because you never know with movies anymore. They'll kill the main character in a heartbeat nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can just 180 and go to some different character, and that's the thing too. When they introduced Michael Rooker and the girl, they easily could have carried the rest of that movie. They have so much freaking charisma in them.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drop the spoilers. We're gonna pull back out of spoiler territory. Let's see. There were some definite notes that I had from this film. I liked Rooker playing a really nice guy because he doesn't usually, and he usually plays.
But still a badass too.
Still,
he was like no nonsense,
but
like good guy.
But like a father figure, but like a real one. Like he literally was like encouraging and.
You know who he reminded me of?
Who?
He reminded me of Denzel Washington from Book of Eli.
I get that. I can see that. Let's see.
Like the PG-13 version where, you know, there's just monsters to muck up and like no real super violence.
Right.
But yeah.
I thought the relationship with the girl was interesting. It was really weird to me that they didn't go with him, but hey, I dug it. There were some convenient tropes that my wife's giving.
When you say they didn't go with him, what do you mean?
I thought they would have gone with him to continue on the adventure. I'm trying to keep it minimal. Hold on.
Oh, gotcha. No, I agree, and I was just thinking, this movie reminds me of if we watched Zombieland and Eisenberg still would have gone to Columbus instead of joining the group. And I like that about this, that he still needed to complete his own quests and the reason he set out in the first place, instead of just doing the logical thing, which was team up with these badasses. And it allowed it to become like a coming of age thing where he sort of like took his own agency and,
right,
became his own badass dude, hero guy.
No, yeah, I totally. I liked Mavis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the joke, so I'll leave that alone. Because that was a good joke. But I do like the character Mavis. I do like. I just love this movie. Okay, so I don't normally get the feels during movies because they're so predictable, and it usually takes a really good human drama to get me, something that really connects to the real world, and I go, oh crap, somebody lived through that. That's awful. And then I can get all the feels, right? This one gave me the feels, man. I so got the feels like throughout this whole freaking movie. And I believed it enough that I was like, wow, heart and people with feelings, and I love it. And it was weird, but I liked that about it. So maybe I was just in the right mood. I don't know.
That could be. I feel like also something like this that came along, like I mentioned earlier, the cathartic nature of watching someone leave their freaking vault in isolation and face a world of horrors for something as simple as love is just like a nice story.
Right. It is, and it's not something you see ever. Especially in real life. I don't think a lot of people would trek 85 miles for love. They'll say they will.
You'd be surprised.
I said that,
especially because
they say they will, but I don't know.
The age of the guy too, I think, is important because he hadn't done much. World came to an end, and that he was still kind of stuck in that like young adult, pre-figuring it out phase. But the world got flipped upside down, so he had to find his own thing.
Right. No, that's fair. It's truly fair. Oh wow, I got some yelling going on back here. It's okay. Yes. My baby's yelling. Not sure why. It's all good. So
the monster needs some loves.
Right. Yeah, this movie was one of those ones. I'm glad I went in blind, but I don't think I would have hated it even if I had seen the previews. I think it would have felt just the same. I think it's a good movie overall just because of that. There's nothing that's...
I'd say skip the previews. I think they probably give away too much.
Something wrong with your phone because it's coming through just fine on this. Yeah. My wife's trying to tell me that the stream's not coming through, but I'm watching it and hearing it over here on my iPad without a problem.
Yeah, my phone's being kind of dumb too.
So, but I'm hearing it and everything. So I'm seeing it live on the internet when I don't know. If there's somebody in the chat, let me know if everything's not working, because I'd love to make sure it is. But as far as I can tell, we're up and running. But anyway, we'll keep going. We're a little delayed from what I'm seeing, but that doesn't matter. That's normal. Love and Monsters. Did we go over the details of the film? Because we could easily do that.
We just did a general plot synopsis.
I just meant, because one of the things we are not doing that we totally should be, I think, is going over the film itself. Who made it? Give the credits to those that deserve them.
Absolutely. Let's look up the screenwriter and director,
I'm just
Mr.
gonna
Man in the Chair.
IMDb, which I think
I've been really getting into screenwriters. The other day I was watching X-Men and I totally forgot that it was freaking written by Solid Snake.
What?
Yeah, David Hayter wrote the screenplay. He was also the cop that shows up at the end.
Interesting. Yeah, I love it when people do things outside of what you'd expect from them. It's pretty outstanding. So, Love and Monsters.
But David Hayter's been writing screenplays forever.
No, I know, but sometimes you'll follow an actor and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, they also do this and have for a long, long time. So, what? All the hate, only a 7? Oh.
Yeah, this movie got panned, and I think that's one of the pandemic problems we're going to come across through a lot of movies that get released in the next year.
This is it. I don't want to say what my rating is till the end, but okay. So
right. I don't have high hopes for King Kong versus Godzilla.
You do,
just
or don't?
Because I don't like it. As far as the critics go, I think they're going to freaking eat that movie alive.
Yeah, but critics don't understand what a roller coaster movie is. So,
well, no, critics and fans, because so many people didn't even like King of the Monsters.
I actually ended up liking that.
I figured you would, yeah. But there's so many people that just see a thing. I think just because the world around them sucks ass, they bring that into it too.
I agree, and that's why I try to watch every movie without that. But
for sure, and I think that speaks to the thing though that we are going through some pretty rough stuff, and you and I watched it, and we're like, damn, this is great. I feel like it elevated the status of all this crappy, what's going to happen next, horror around every corner, Some people are living this, but not as dramatically as, critters are going to gobble you up and all that.
Right. So the director is Michael Matthews, and he is a writer, director, producer, known for, it looks like, a film called Five Fingers at Marseille, and it's a contemporary Western set in rural South Africa. And it's a film premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, if you're into that
sounds interesting.
So that's his kind of where he came from. And then this is his second major film. Before that, just shorts. And then he has some other producer credits. He's not the writer of this film, but he is the director, and I thought the direction was pretty good. Writer Brian Duffield, he's the guy that did the screenplay.
Brian or Ryan?
Brian
Duffield?
Yep, and as I look him up, it makes perfect sense. Yes, Brian Duffield. So the writer of Love and Monsters, Underwater, Insurgent, The Babysitter. Let's see.
Oh, so does he have his roots in Netflix-based stuff? Because The Babysitter is a Netflix thing, right?
It is, and I love The Babysitter. I thought that was a great flick.
And is Underwater that Kirsten Stewart one where they're walking along the seafloor? I never saw that, but it looked really good. I think I just like this guy's stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, there's a character. So we were just talking about people that did movies and did other things and you don't think about it. Shane Black is a person I always come to that I love their work, and you wouldn't know you love their work. If you look up Shane Black's work, you'd be like, wait, really?
Iron Man 3 and Predator and...
Right. But he was also in Predator.
Yeah.
So he was in the movie and then he got to write the newest one, which I think is fantastic. Let's see. He has written Lethal Weapon, The Monster Squad, Lethal Weapon 2, The Last Boy Scout, Lethal Weapon 3, Last Action Hero, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Lethal Weapon 4, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys, which is a brilliant film, and The Predator.
Oh, is that the Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe one?
Absolutely it is, and that is my
favorite. Still have not seen that. I need to watch that.
that's going on our list for April then, because, or if you haven't seen
April.
it, if you haven't seen it, then maybe we should swap out for next week, since we haven't said the movies for next week, and I have an idea which one.
Yeah, let's do that.
For the other Ryan Gosling movie.
Why am I confused now?
We had a Ryan Gosling movie on our list for next week that we're gonna wipe
Well,
away.
why don't we just swap out the one we were wondering about anyway? Let's just do 2 Ryan Gosling flicks.
2 Ryan Gosling flicks and
we could do 3 if you want to find something modern. We just get gauzed out at the end of February.
Have you ever seen The Big Short?
I have not.
Dude, really? That's a movie I would love to talk to you about. Oh, but it's fairly political because it is.
That's fine.
It is about the 2008 housing bubble. So.
Oh, that's right. It's got
yes,
Michael
it does.
Scott, dude, guy. Yeah.
Yep.
I moved the cast being really good for that.
It's got Brad Pitt. It's got Michael.
Yep.
You said Michael. Now it's not coming to me because that's not his name.
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell. Thank you. Yeah. So Brad Pitt, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and
Christian
let's
Bale. Do that one, and then we could have 2 movies with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling in it.
Okay. So you want to do?
It'll be our Dreamboat special in February.
Okay. So we're having a Dreamboat special next week. Mostly Ryan Gosling, a little Russell Crowe, who was Dreamboaty and is now, well, more like a dad bod, but that's all good. I have a dad bod, so I'm okay with that. And then my baby's upset again, but that happens. Okay. So next week. You
brought up Russell Crowe. That's a real bummer, dude.
Why?
Because he's had some issues, and I feel bad for the guy.
I didn't mean it in a bad way. I love Russell Crowe. I
do too. I'm just saying,
actor.
like he's had a rough patch. I did not see that new movie though. I heard that was all right. Where he's a grumpy driver or something, chases down some lady.
Pretty much that's where, older male actors go to die, is in those movies, and it's sad to watch Liam Neeson and others kind of continue to just make these
become parodies of themselves and then cash out on it.
It's could you guys make like a Grumpier Old Men 4 or something and go with like the Las Vegas style thing? Do that instead. Or make like a comedy Expendables. I'd be happy. That would be awesome.
That would be rad. I didn't even think that was a good idea until you just put it in my brain.
But it has to be comedy. It cannot be that serious action that's trying to be funny because it's playing off its own tropes. It has to be like Liam Neeson in Ted. Like I want
just
that.
The pitch of comedy Expendables. Like if you can get 5 people from my childhood in there, I don't even give a shit how it is. I just want to see how that looks.
So you're saying do like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Dane Cook, and a variety of Ben Stiller. Just put them all in a movie, and they have to like defeat the villain of non-humor, the humorless Witchbone or something. I don't know.
Something you could literally get the cast of grown-ups and just add 5 more people. Just don't let Sandler direct it, and I'm sure you'd have gold.
I'd say make sure Sandler only does a cameo.
I don't know. I feel like he's got to be a driving force, but you have to have him and Eddie Murphy dress up a bunch like they did in the 90s and play different characters. I'm
actually... What is it that's coming out that Eddie Murphy's doing? Oh, Coming to America 2.
I haven't seen the trailer for that.
It looks like the first one. They might
is that
be
good or bad?
I think it'd be good because it's actually... Okay. So do you want to hear the base plot?
Yes.
His daughter runs away from Africa to New York City, and guess where he's got to go?
Where?
To New York to get her back.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I don't know why I said where. That does not require a pause.
Perfect. No, it was like a joke, but no. Literally, they found a good
Guess where
reason.
He goes? Detroit. No one knows why.
Yeah, his daughter stayed in New York, and he found his true love in Detroit. Maybe, I don't know. Hakeem, maybe, I don't know. But maybe the jokes won't hit, or maybe they'll try way too hard. I hope they don't, but it's weird to see Arsenio back. Anyway, let's get back to Love and Monsters. Let's see.
See, we went on our own little journey trying to think of what to do next week, and that's the best thing about Love and Monsters is it starts off as this, rom-com, got to do it for love, and then it becomes like a coming of age and do things for your own reasons.
The
whole movie reminded me of the Scott Pilgrim gain the power of self-respect sword scene, but like for the whole runtime, and I enjoyed that. This
I
movie's
can see
like
that.
chicken soup for the soul.
That is a good way to put it. It really does. You know, it's like a refill on your hope meter.
Yeah, this movie's resting at a bonfire. If we're still talking about monsters.
Oh, I loved that. I loved the, you know, the what happens at night. I don't want to say anymore because you know what I'm talking about. But what they deal
Yeah,
with every night, I loved that. That was really a thoughtful trope, and they did a good job. And I think today, for me, because I've seen so many movies, and I think you agree, it's not about whether they're going to use a trope. They're gonna, because there's only so many. It's how they wield them and what order they put them in, and whether it's unique or fun. And that's why people get all weird about older movies. And I'm like, you got to remember those tropes worked then. It's like when we were talking about Rear Window. That trope at the end of that movie worked because nobody had ever done that before. So it worked perfectly. But now we've seen that movie 100 times in other iterations. So now we're like, we don't want that trope. Don't give us the it happened. Give us the it didn't happen trope. Flip it. And it's like, well, you can only flip a trope to a positive or a negative, really. It can either happen or it doesn't. Really.
Well, to tie it back to Zombieland, like that movie managed to make an entertaining experience out of a trend that was well past dead. Like it was basically on life support,
Right.
and they took all the ingredients and made a fun little adventure. And then, sadly, it took them a decade to get another one out. But that movie had no right being as good as it was.
I love Zombieland. I think it's a great film.
But like, it had no right being that good. Like,
yeah,
a somewhat unknown movie built of a cast of relative nobodies at the time. That was based off the premise of being a TV show until the studio was like, no, you got to cut it down to this. And then they just scrambled it all together and then made like freaking souffle out of ramen noodles.
Yeah. That's not how I felt when I watched it, but I get what you're saying. So.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this movie had the potential to suck ass. And instead it kicked ass.
There's a set of movies we could talk about, but we're not going to go there. So, my bit rate keeps dropping out real hard, and I'm not quite sure why that's happening.
Yeah, I was going to say, you sound a little bit digitized and chunky.
Well, I disconnected some things and not others. My Wi-Fi signal just kind of took a drop. I'm not quite sure.
No.
That's weird. I'm wondering if I can run my Wi-Fi adapter from the front of my computer. I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. So with Love and Monsters, wow, we've been talking about it for 40 minutes. See, it's worth talking about. With Love and Monsters.
Oh, we had some tangents too. We did it quest like the movie.
That's
started
true.
with one goal and did some deviations, and I think in the end we're going to become stronger, more dependent people.
I think that the next two critiques are going to definitely take their full time, and in fact, I think Evil Dead might take a little longer because there's enough to compare to the other films.
Right,
because
and that's the end of a series, so.
Right, and we're going to definitely want to focus on that. So we can give this a few more minutes, and of course we're going to take our hour break. We'll do a not hour long break. At the hour, we'll take a short break, and we do that between the films. Love and Monsters. Did anything surprise me? No. Did I love all of it anyway? Yes. Would I recommend this movie? Yes. Would you recommend this movie?
Oh, absolutely, man. I am dying to watch it again. I'm actually, so odd little plug for a business around here. There's a small movie chain you can rent a theater for $150 for up to 10 people. I'm honestly thinking about saving it up and doing that. I'd like to see this in a theater, put my ass in a seat with some popcorn and like watch this thing.
I do agree. It's definitely because it's a monster movie, it does deserve the big screen. But I think I watched it on my iPad, and I got all the same feels.
Nice.
So I watch most movies on my iPad. I don't care. I watched enough movies in the theater that I remember what that was like. I got to see movies that, and experiences that most people won't get to see anymore because of just when I grew up. So, watching T2 in the theater was an epic experience. Watching the Star Wars movies originally in the theater was an epic experience. I went to watch Speed in the theater, I think like 6 times, just because it was so epic as far as just the ridiculous over the top action. And
Man, I couldn't imagine that.
It's terrible, Of course, it's terrible, but it's great. I love that movie. And if anybody hates me for
I
loving
just
that
couldn't
movie,
imagine stumbling across a thing like Speed now.
oh no, it
Like,
wouldn't work now. It just wouldn't work.
well, the last time I went to go see multiple things in theaters because it was part of a series, then I was just mainly watching it again because I was waiting for the next one to come out a year or two later.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen very often that I see a movie and I'm like, damn, I gotta watch that again. This is one of the few exceptions though. Like, not only do I want to watch it again right away, I want to watch it with a bigger, better system and setup.
Well, with the being a book and with it being a movie already, and it did well enough, it may get a sequel. And I'm really hoping that we could do that. We can push for a sequel because
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think it did well enough in sales too for being a movie that did not get much screen time and went straight to video on demand.
yeah, no, I would have gladly paid more for this movie. No, that doesn't mean we're going to pay more now,
Right.
but I would have gladly paid more because it's good. So yeah,
I'm glad we took a shot on it.
me too. Hey, what's up, Frost? Frost Gaming. What's up, dude? We're talking about Love and Monsters, the movie. Here, I'll put up the zip band there. Zip band there. And as you can see, we got our setup back. We got our spoiler alerts back. I put that up real quick. Yeah, everything's back.
Yeah, we did a minor deviation, but we didn't really spoil anything. Just like a little,
Right.
might give away one of the twists.
So welcome in. These are the movies that we're doing, and thank you for the hype. That's very, very cool. Did you work today, Frost? Frost is one of my work buddies.
Oh, nice.
Drop those posters. So we're doing Love and Monsters. We're doing Evil Dead 2013. And then we're, of course, doing The Warriors per request. Smash Bros. Requested that for this week. And so, yeah. Well, that's weird. I just got an alert from my Xbox console. It's not even on. There's a ghost in my machine, Frag Guy. Oh, am I not?
But does the monster have any love?
So, one of the saddest parts of the movie had to be, in the middle, saying, "Oh, you're still at work right now. Oh, I guess you're still." Wow. Isn't work over in 15 minutes? Well, anyway. I should hydrate. Okay, I'm trying to keep up. I sat up, and now I'm drinking.
I can't even see. I'm just guessing here.
No, it's good. You're keeping me honest. You're keeping me trying to, use the points that are being put out there. So it's good. Very, very good. But you're making me have to push my microphone up because I'm shorter than that. Okay, hold on. There we go. Let's see how that looks. It barely changed anything. Whatever. It's right in front of my face now, so I'm happy. So, yeah, so we are doing reviews. We kind of sidetracked there just to talk and say hi to everybody. So this movie, Love and Monsters, Frost, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Worth watching. Both stamp of approval from both the Fry Guy and MrSnidBitS. Definitely a movie.
Yeah, worth the price of admission.
Absolutely. So why don't we?
If it goes on sale, grab for sure.
Why don't we give it the good old 1 to 10? You started, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you put a gun to my head and made me have to rate this, I'd give it a solid 9.
Oh wow, that's a high rating for you.
Oh, the thing is too about this movie, and okay, it's a movie I've been thinking about since I watched it, which is also a thing that barely happens. I'll remember a lot of shit in a movie, especially if I'm interested. But the fact that I watched this movie, ended it, and then I fired up Fallout right away because I needed something like it to keep happening.
I hear you.
Between main character, love story, post-apocalypse, monsters, there's a dog in there. We forgot to mention that. We're total bastards for it.
I didn't want to mention the dog. Okay, the reason I didn't want to mention the dog is that for me, that was a big surprise. It's almost like a spoiler.
No, okay, it's on the cover of the movie.
I know, but if you don't think about it, I didn't look at the cover much. I just went right in, and the fact that he showed up was so amazing.
I'm just saying there's a dog though. But
okay.
If this movie has all those ingredients that I love this movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies of last year. which is weird. If you would have told me, given the trailers and a little bit I know, that my favorite movies during quarantine are going to be Sonic the Hedgehog and Love and Monsters, I'd say you're fucking huffing glue.
Sonic?
Apologies. Yeah, I love Sonic, dude. Sonic is ridiculously fun.
We're
And
PG-13. You get a couple. You're good.
And yeah, these two movies blew my expectations away because like I had so little. Like I haven't seen a good video game movie until Sonic, and that one surprised me. And this movie, I was just like, oh, it's got the people in there and the recipe, but are they going to screw it up? And they didn't. And for that to happen, like that, I think that just exceeded my expectations. The fact that this thing ended and I wanted more of it is always a good sign. I don't get to movies now where I'm like, damn, I could go for another one of these in a couple years.
I wanted more. I wanted more at about halfway. I was like, this is a world, right?
Yeah, well, like third act, I was like, oh no, it's going to be over in like 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
And that was my like realization that, man, I better go find some source material or something close. And that's why I ended up firing up Fallout.
No, I hear that. No, totally. Stranger the Warriors gave me the same feel, but we'll get to that because I definitely got a similar feeling to that, but for different reasons. But yeah, anyway, I totally get it.
Interesting.
It made me want to watch other films. It was weird.
Huh.
So, yeah.
I dig.
So you said a 9. Definitely recommended. Solid 9 with a definite recommendation.
Like buy it full price. If they put it in theaters for like a Corona special, go see it. If you can get it on discount, buy it yesterday.
Buy it yesterday. I don't disagree with that. Definitely buy it yesterday. That's the day to buy it. Undoubtedly. I would say for me, it's going to be a 10. Love and Monsters was a solid 10 because I will be revisiting this movie many times, and my quota, or not my quota, but my criteria for a 10 is how much I will love it and watch it. And it gave me the feels. It gave me I was frightened for the character and actually was like, oh no, that's not good. And, and that really got me invested. And that's important for me for a film. I really wanted to see where this went. And I love movies where the nerd is the protagonist. I love it.
Yeah, the underdog stories.
Love it. So
well, now that you mention it too, I'm excited to see what stuff I missed the first time now that I had the full context.
Mm-hmm. No, so this isn't really a spoiler, but it's my theory about something. So I'm not going to put the spoiler up, but I'm going to warn that if you're watching, that this could ruin something. So the whole premise of the film starts right at the beginning, so I'm not really ruining anything, is that chemical rockets are sent up to destroy an asteroid. These chemical rockets, there's too many of them that were sent up, and they're mixing together, and they poison our atmosphere, essentially, and it mutates all the cold-blooded creatures on the planet. So that's cool, and that's where all the creatures come from. But what really throws me is that they also discuss how humans are affected, and of course a lot of them died, right?
Yeah.
Not just from the creatures, but just from the atmosphere change, from
radiation poisoning,
right.
And like stuff. Nuclear fallout and that kind of stuff.
So, but that means the survivors also adapted physically. I mean, they evolved. We just don't see the evolution because it's more of an immune evolution, immunity evolution. Does that make sense?
That does. And then also to throw this out there, there's a character in the movie you'll end up meeting. We don't know what like century or time period this takes place, and that's the other reason I wanted to play Fallout is because I got some Mr. Gutsy vibes from one of the characters.
No, we do know when it takes place.
Well, yeah, like time period date wise. I'm just saying like there's some definite tech that pops up that like we don't have, and so I wonder what other things we don't know about the world exist. Because if you have critters and beings that can like link your socials and blah 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 blah. And do all that stuff that I don't want to spoil, but like we'll tease that there's like some surprises in there. I wonder what other things they have tech wise.
It is definitely not our world. It's like kind of like Marvel. It's our world adjacent.
Yeah, but like their tech is just really cool. Even the dude's like makeshift crossbow was pretty badass. There was like an aerosol can on there and a goofy little sight and
the Mavis character. I
want to see what other kind of things.
A big part of that. I think the thing that really stuck out to me that I want to say before I give it my rating is having been stuck in a house for a year, literally, I felt the need to do what he did and get the freak out of here for a while and go adventure, even in the face of danger, because you can only live underground for so long before you got to move on. And I literally felt that. Like, I was like, wow. Because I live in a basement house. So I literally felt that. I live underground. So, anyway, that aside. 10.
But
Definitely
can
watch
you
it.
make minestrone?
I make other pasta-based soupy things.
Well, you work on the minestrone, and when you're done, then we can go trek across the country 90 miles.
Actually, the trek is about from here to Portland. So, if you were to start in like North Eugene. So,
Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah. Basically. That's a long trek. I mean, it gives you an idea of how far he trekked. So, they were like a week. I'm like, give me like 4 weeks to get there. 85 miles. Lord. I got to stop every mile and a half. So, that's just me. Anyway.
That's also like a week factoring in no traffic and possibly running for your life. So I think that makes sense.
For sure. That's true. And running a lot at some points, but I can't run. So, I'm out.
Yeah, like you couldn't pay me to jog to Portland, but if something's chasing my ass for like a county block, I'm gonna, knees to chest.
Yeah, I would try. It would catch me. I'm basically, I'm what you give to the monster so you can survive. I'm the one that's going to sacrifice themselves because I'll make sure they don't catch you guys. That's literally what's going to have to happen.
So, the one that, your friends don't have to be faster than the Garbler, they just have to be faster than you.
You're all faster than me. Trust me. I cannot run. It's not possible. It's not something I can do. So, yeah. You all win. Give me the car. I'll drive y'all.
It's a very bleak conclusion for such a cute movie.
But it's true. Anyway, so, yeah, but they do a pretty decent job of glossing over shit just like other movies do. Much like that's what I like to call the San Andreas effect or the 2012 effect, where it's like, look, 1 billion people just died. And it doesn't even get exposition. Nobody talks about it. Let's just move on to the main three characters.
There's also a cute little note, like a lampshade thing, where he's making the trek and leaving the notes to whoever he's going to talk to. He's like, I haven't seen any death. I've seen signs of death, but no actual death so far. So that's nice.
Right. No, they definitely do a good job of covering it. So anyway, I say we take a quick couple-minute break and come back at 8 o'clock to talk about Evil Dead 2013. What do you think?
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
Okay. We will be back in just a minute, guys. Hang out, and we'll be here.
You know what we've done, gang? We've defied all the laws of nature. That's it. You know what we've done, gang? We've defied all the laws of nature. That's a...
Hello, we're back. And thank you for letting us take a break. It's important. Got to take quick breaks. Sitting in a chair for hours. I do it at work. Can't do it at, well, for this too, because I do it at home. But anyway, yeah. Anyway. So yeah.
I clean toilets, so even though I'm on my feet all day, this is a good mental break for me.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm very glad. You like Borderlands? We've talked about that, right?
What?
You like Borderlands, right?
I could not get into the games. Didn't have the friends to play with other than Ben, and I really enjoyed Tales from the Borderlands. But I am downloading them all right now. I have all of them but 3, so if you want to run through the series, I'm totally game.
I do. Your game. I like how you said that. Yeah, that's fun. Anyway, so I got myself a Marcus bobblehead. Came with one of the games, which I love.
Oh, nice.
Vault Hunter. I love this guy. The weapons expert, the weapons guy. Anyway, so that's pretty fun stuff.
Nice.
I love that game series, but you said they're making a movie, so we'll have to, of course, go for the movie when it comes out.
That's going to be weird too, man. Did you hear the whole rundown with it?
No.
So Kevin Hart's going to be Jacob. Tilda Swinton, I think, is going to be Lilith. Jack Black's going to be Claptrap. But guess who's directing it?
Do I care? Go ahead. Who?
You do. Eli Roth is directing it.
So?
The guy that did like Hostel and Green Inferno and all the gore fests.
Great. They're gonna miss.
I wonder if it's gonna be like
the jokes aren't gonna hit. I don't think.
Well, I think if the writers are good, he might just be able to make the looting and vaulting and then grossness, because there's some pretty gross monsters in Borderlands, and I wonder if that's why they grabbed the guy for it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to get right down to it, some of the skags and all the really great, even the psychos. Don't get me wrong, but the cell shading has something about it that gives it the feel. And if they walk away from that, I think they should cell shade the movie and take a note from Scanner Darkly.
Oh, okay, I was just about to pitch that, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of tight.
If they did it like Scanner Darkly, but did the complete overlays and made it look cartoon, but it was done live action, do it. I will watch it.
Honestly,
I will watch it.
so here's another pitch, right? So it's going to be live action, as in people are going to be there, whatever. What if they did that weird Disney CGI stuff like they did with Grandma Talkin and Leia over the actors?
No.
You know,
No.
shoot it at actual locations, but like make their faces look closer to the game characters. You wouldn't want that?
No, they're not. We're 20 years from that still. Like they're not doing that yet. Like
Oh, I think it would work well though with the theme of the movie and the way it looks. I think that jankiness would probably carry it a lot more if we're not like distracted by be like, this is clearly Kevin Hart.
the reason
Kevin Hart.
the reason I have problem with Uncanny Valley, the reason I have problem with bad CGI, even in Monsters or Love and Monsters, there was some CGI that pulled me out, and it pulls me out. I need to believe it, and if it's obvious that there's something overlaid like my screen here that has it's obvious I'm not sitting at a desk at this. This is ridiculous. It's cartoony, and I did it on purpose because whatever. I'm not trying to be fancy, but if you're trying to make a movie and make me believe there's a monster there, that's something I want to get into next month. There's actually a few of my complaints about big budget movie monster movies. It's not the stories, it's not the CG of the monsters, other than it's always at night. I don't know why the hell that is. And then
Cost. It's way easier.
I know, because you have a black background to work
Mister,
with.
I don't know why that is, and then you're like,
I know why, but I'd rather them spend a little extra money and make it a few daytime shots because they're great. And they always do it in the rain too. Anyway, fine. I accept all of that. What I don't like is this, and this happens even in Love and Monsters. It happens in all monster movies.
Listen, man, you
Listen,
need to
here it
beat your
is.
caveman brain back.
Listen, no,
and
here it is.
Climb out of the uncanny valley.
No, here it is. There are moments, and this happens in every movie, and I just watched King of the Monsters, so this is the moment that I'm thinking about. There's a moment when Millie Bobby Brown's character is running, and things are happening, and I'll even accept that a human can outrun all these electrical squirts from these giant, enormous monsters. I'll accept that. I don't know why I accept it, but I'm accepting it. What I don't accept is 20 tons of concrete falling a millimeter from her face and her not having any reflex or weird action, and it not having any effect on her physically because it's still moving, and it would carry weight, and it would carry air, and it would carry all these things, and the actors basically the actors have been doing their acting the same since Jurassic Park and those kinds of movies, but then you have these editing and digital guys going in and making things closer and closer and more edgy looking, and now it's so close to them it looks unreal. Back it off a foot and a half where the actor's acting like it is, and stop putting it in their face and making it look like a 1 in a billion chance every 10 seconds in a movie. It becomes unbelievable.
I think you're discounting the distance and not factoring in the badasses of probably some of the actors. I would feel like a freaking god mode superhero in one of those films too, so it'd probably be hard to act appropriately when you got like tennis balls and goofy pictures of what's supposed to be happening around.
I think the actors are doing fine. What I think the CG people need to just stop making things look like it literally was skin of your teeth every time, because it doesn't become suspenseful. It becomes old hat and boring.
Oh, it's a trope. Yeah.
That's
the trope you're trying to say.
Yes, it's a digital trope that they use now. That's literally the skin of your teeth trope, if you will. I don't know what all the tropes are named, but I can tell you what they are based in premise. And I know there are nerds that love to name the tropes. And if you know them, please tell them to me. I'll try. I'm not going to memorize them all. But it's skin of your teeth.
Now, you want to know mine?
What is it? Let's hear it.
That bothers me and ruin the MCU when someone pointed it out.
Ooh. Sure, go ahead. Then we'll get to Evil Dead.
Everything post Iron Man 3 is just a dude in front of a green screen. Even actual backgrounds are just whole sets that are green and added in. And when you notice that, you'll notice the weird motion blur that is the actor doing stuff in a physical space that's not where they're at.
It's almost like they still have the same problem with video games where they're framing the character individually and then putting it in a world, and it can't integrate itself to that world for some reason.
Yes, or it's the problem with the cutscene to gameplay mechanic ratio.
Right.
Because there are some physical sets, but everything after Age of Ultron and like at the start of Iron Man 3, you'll see whole ass pieces from Cap fighting himself in in-game to most of the Wakanda stuff.
Agreed.
It's just people on a stage in a costume while the world's built around them, and it looks so weird. Once you notice it, it's almost like you're in a moving car and you're watching it out the window and like actors are acting in midair. And like, if you have motion sickness, I may have just ruined the MCU for you forever, because I would imagine that's what it's like when you're, not able to handle something physically doing a thing while everything around it like blurs and whizzes by. And it's so jarring and obnoxious. It makes me pine for stuff like Stan Winston's, Monsters and Puppets, or John Carpenter's movies where everything's practical and has like a physical location in a thing.
There are movies from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s that will live on forever because they won't look like they've ever changed.
Yeah.
They'll stay perfectly the same as they were because the digital effects didn't exist, and yet they were at the peak of doing practical effects, although they could have kept going, and obviously they have, because even the newer, hate me if you will, but the newer Star Wars movies are full of practical and digital effects. And to me, going with that, what they did with Deadpool, where he's wearing a full suit and they digitized just his face, it's perfect.
Right.
Just use it as a tool. Stop using it as a crutch. It's not a crutch, and it's not very good yet. I still think we're 15 or 20 years away from making it integrated to the point where we can't tell. I really do.
That's like the new Jurassic movies and The Mandalorian. There's a good marriage of puppets and CGI, and I think those are the best episodes and the best shots, is when you have real people interacting with fake things that are physically there, and then you go to another totally fake thing. That's a way better transition than just nothing but real people, nothing but fake things, and then them having to pretend they exist in the same space.
Exactly. But it's okay. It's still acting. But see, this is the thing about, acting on a stage. If you're acting on a stage, you have all your props right there. And what are you acting for? The audience. And you know where they are, and you know where they stand with how they feel. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, stage acting seems like it could be the most rewarding for an actor for that reason. But acting in CG movies would probably be the least rewarding because you have no idea what the feedback really is. You don't have a person saying, do this. Or, wow, I didn't feel that, I'm the monster, come at me, but you're really not, I don't feel scared by you, I'm not, the tennis ball isn't telling you that. So,
yeah, unless you're like really passionate about the project, or you have someone like Colin Trevorrow who did a lot of groundwork stuff in like Jurassic. He did the most, like he would have physical representation of the stuff there and try to, get them into scene and character by setting it up. And then I think they also did like some sort of software that allowed them to do a mock-up so they could watch the footage so they could get an idea of how it looked.
mm-hmm.
And then it could say like, no, this is what we're trying to do differently. So you could see it beforehand during the second or third take and actually adjust to it, whereas some people just have to do it, and then the studio has to just do what they can with what they got.
Okay, so that's almost a perfect segue into Evil Dead, but I'm going to say one thing about Jurassic Park first. Whenever I think about practical effects and Jurassic Park, practical effects mixed with digital effects, I think to the Lost World Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum when he's getting attacked by the raptors towards the end of the film in the beginning of the third act, and he totally goes into the room and the raptor starts to attack him, and he has to physically, if you watch it without the digital effects, he breaks the door off the hinges and then throws the door at himself through the window. That's fantastic acting. Because I believed the raptor hit him when it did. It really felt like Jeff was doing a good job there. And that's the kind of stuff Jurassic Park has always brought to the table.
Knowing Spielberg and Kennedy at the time, there may have been a guy in a suit that actually like jumped him. Because that happens a lot in the Jurassic series also.
There wasn't. I watched the behind the scenes. It's fantastic. There wasn't.
Did they put him on a wire setup? Because that also happens too, where they pull you back.
I think he was on a wire rig to go through the window, but not for the hitting
but
himself
still,
at the door.
You got to know how to take those kind of hits and do those kind of tumbles, otherwise they look goofy.
Right. No, he literally just he just kind of boom, hit himself with the door, and then they pulled him through the window. And I'm not sure if it was a wire or he did it himself, but it's still, the door was all him. Anyway, good segue into Evil Dead 2013 for this reason. The majority of the effects in that movie, practical.
Oh, and it shows, and it makes it hard to watch. Rewatching this thing was really freaking... It's rough for you because you're a parent, but it's rough for me because I forgot how gross this thing was.
So we are going to be reviewing Evil Dead 2013. This is probably one of the bloodiest movies ever made in Hollywood history, and that's literal. They used over 70,000 gallons of blood to make this film, and it shows. It literally shows. So the film... I'll take this one since you ran with Love and Monsters, if that's all right.
Yeah, go on.
So we're revisiting The Cabin in the Woods from the first two films, except this time we're not sure if we're in the same universe or not. There are maybe clues that it's the same universe or at least an alternate dimension to the other Evil Dead films. And we're given 5 new characters, and they come to the cabin to help their friend kick drugs. Good reason to get a kid in the woods, because except these are kids in their 20s, but still kids.
Well, can I interject real
Sure.
quick?
Mm-hmm.
If this is the same universe, I think this makes these kids related to the researcher in the second movie, because they mention mom and dad would hate seeing this place like this. So either they own the cabin and that's where the researchers went in the first movie, or they knew the people.
The cabin remained after Ash was pulled back into the Army of Darkness realm in 1300, and then the cabin remained, untouched, and it fell back onto the market, through a series of foreclosures and what probate, all that stuff, and it found itself back on the market, and those parents bought it.
Okay.
And used it as just a cabin, but they never found the stuff because they didn't stay there very often, and they didn't smell the cats in the cellar. So that's my take on it. The only connection I can make to it is through the comic books and the end of the caption or the end of the credits scene. Those are the only 2 things I can connect the universes together with, just as being a big fan. So, anyway, I get your take.
When you say end credit scene, do you just mean like the thing at the end?
After the credits, yes.
Because during the credits, I didn't notice this before because I hadn't seen the other movies. But when I rewatched it this time, it's after the credits because I love sitting through the credits of the movies I love. They played the tapes from the Doctor in the second movie.
Yes,
it's the second movie's tapes.
They do. And that makes me think it's the same cabin, but that's what leads me to the theory that I have, that it fell into probate. Somebody had to buy it. It went on the market cheap. And this family, from Michigan is like, hey, let's cabin in the woods. No, deadites don't exist in our world. They bought a cabin and their kids go out there sometimes. And you can tell by the dialogue that they've been out there before. Now,
see, I kind of wondered if the professor was the dude from the opening scene.
I got that was so this is, again, I've watched this movie probably about 15 times, and this is the first time I watched it as a parent, which is weird because it's been a couple of years. But when it came out in 2013, I watched it because I'm a big fan. And so I've dissected it a lot of times, and I came to the conclusion, and this is just my opinion, that the opening scene is by people who happen to stumble upon the book in the cabin between the time in which Ash goes back into time and the parents buy the cabin. Now, this is a bit of a stretch, but I didn't know how to fill in the marks. So either this is a completely separate world or that's the timeline, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that makes sense. It could also, to help keep it all canonized, it could also be after the mom passes away, because we do hear that she had like mental health issues that caused her to. So they could have had to sell the cabin in order to pay for that, and then only the daughter stuck around to see her deteriorate,
And then got it back somehow, or
no, just it used to be their cabin, so they knew where it was.
And so
then all this stuff happened after the mom had had her medical problems.
Are they squatting while in this movie? Like they're
just that they went back to go visit it.
That's true. And since it's old and decrepit, nobody cares.
Or maybe it's their cabin and it's an heirloom, and they were the ones that squatted the guy in the beginning and his daughter. Right. That whole setup was real freaky. Can we talk about how weird that was? Because I forgot about the woman chanting, and man, they really set off this whole thing with just so they go up to 11 with the supernatural,
and with the just creep factor and gross factor and blood factor and cringe factor. Like this movie, it's like watching Final Destination, but turned to 11, where you're basically, oh no, oh god, no, the whole time. Man,
yeah. And also having followed because we've been watching these as a series, right? Having followed it, this one really does not hold back, and it's not limited by the technology of its time. And so there's a fun campiness to the other ones that makes it enjoyable and not so gross. But I would imagine that's how people that first watched Evil Dead 2 in theaters felt watching what I watched in the newest one, because man,
it is. But here's the other thing.
They take it some places.
Do you know who produced this film?
Wasn't it also
it was the 3 original producers from the Evil Dead series. So it's the same people. They just said, let's get a different director in here. They saw Fede Alvarez doing some great short YouTube movies, and they pulled him over and gave him the money, gave him the stuff, and said, go for it. and this was his interpretation. I believe Fede Alvarez I think he's Brazilian. I could be wrong. I don't want to be foolish and just run off different countries, but I know that he's was big in another country before he came here. And of course, he also produced the movie with Jane Levy after Evil Dead, which was Don't Breathe, which is also a pretty interesting horror flick. That's Fede Alvarez as well. But anyway, so it's original Evil Dead producers. They gave the full marks. And so if you know about the comics of Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, they go really in depth and into a whole nother realm of multi-universes and very Marvel-y, but just with horror. And there are characters you've never heard of in those comic books that are fantastic. And then there's characters you've heard of. Have you ever heard of or seen the Reanimator movies?
I don't believe I have.
You never even heard of them?
Are they like zombie adjacent?
They're more like Prometheus, not the movie, but like the concept of Prometheans and Frankenstein's monster adjacent.
I swear I can see the movie cover, but like the movie itself does not ring a bell.
It's a kind of a wiry looking, creepy looking scientist guy with black rimmed glasses holding up a syringe of green liquid, staring at it all intensely.
Okay, I have not seen it, but I'm familiar with some of it.
So that series has 3 movies, and they're cult classics. They're like Trauma. You know what Trauma is?
I do.
So they're like Trauma, but in their own company, and just, things like Frankenhooker and weird 80s, 90s. Let's see how weird we can make our horror movies type of stuff. Anyway.
The schlocky movies that
right.
people think of fondly, but everyone calls them cult.
Right, exactly. And so those movies are the ones that ended up crossing with Evil Dead and Army of Darkness in the comic books. So you have like Army of Darkness versus Reanimator, or Ash versus... I think it's Hackslash versus Reanimator, and Hackslash pairs up with... So Hackslash is this Cassie Hack is a character whose mother becomes a demon, but she's actually a lunch lady, and so the lunch lady starts torturing the kids and feeding them, and it's really gruesome, very Nightmare on Elm Street, very 80s camp horror. And she has to go rogue and becomes this badass that literally just starts taking on supernatural bad guys. And what she does through her whole series is take on all the 80s classic bad guys you know of, such as Chucky and Freddy and all those, without being exact, but close. And she just goes nuts. And her actual right-hand man is basically Frankenstein's monster. They cross over with all the Army of Darkness and Ash stuff. And there's a whole nother character in the comic books that is like the Mia character. So there's a lot there for you if you want it.
Huh, that sounds pretty rad. How long has this been out? Like that whole concept?
The comic book stuff? I think the Evil Dead comics go back to like the mid-90s.
Oh, damn. Okay. And then when did they start tying all this stuff together?
2000s, like mid-2000s. Mid to late.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I know that there's Army of Darkness comics, but like my only adjacent knowledge to that is when Ash took on the Marvel Zombies, which I still haven't read, but
Marvel Zombies is actually done by Kirkman, so he's the guy that did the Walking Dead original comic book, so definitely worth exploring. They're actually pretty good, but it feels like Walking Dead in the Marvel universe, but it's fine. It's still good.
Yeah, I read the first 2 Marvel Zombies themselves. It just didn't get to the Evil Dead stuff, which seemed like a good tie-in.
No, and they are. But so what's weird is this universe, I wish the companies would all just merge so we could just get some great stuff on screen, because New Line Cinema and what is the other company that owns Ash? There's a couple companies that don't like working together, and they barely let the existence of Freddy versus Jason versus Ash exist in the first place, which is also a comic book, and it was supposed to be the sequel to the movie Freddy versus Jason, where Ash Williams came in and started kicking the crap out of both of them, and that would have been epic. But we aren't going to ever get that. So the comic book exists, and then there's a sequel to it that's not nearly as good. And that comic book, I think, is what started the crossover ideas with those universes, and that's where all of this kind of started. So, yeah. And then, that, of course, all started from the Friday the 13th, Part 8 Sorry, 9. I do that every time, which is not called this, but it's the 9th installment called Jason Goes to Hell. And if you have not seen that
So,
movie, that's where it all began.
so okay, we were also talking about timelines when we got to Army of Darkness.
We were.
What was it again you think this one falls into, the whole scheme of things?
So it's one of two
Evil Dead
things.
1?
It's one of two things. So if we go with the original theory I had, we have Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 living in 2 different dimensions, but still, the same Ash, but, 2 universes. This one would fill, that quota perfectly by being yet in another universe, but that book just lives in all of them simultaneously and just tortures people throughout. It lives in a space that just keeps going into each universe. So it's its own thing, and each of our universes have it sitting in the same location. Because
What's the other theory?
The other theory is that it's all one universe, and you could scrap the first movie and just run that 2, 3, and this one all are together, but we don't know what happened to Ash. We do, because there's a show that takes place, but at this point, we have no idea what happened to Ash.
So what do you think about this? What if it's like the Zelda timeline?
Explain
Okay,
yourself.
so in the Zelda timeline, there are multiple branches, and the first one starts with the first game. In the first game, if Link dies, that leads to, I believe, Link's Awakening and or Ocarina of Time. No, or Wind Waker.
Okay.
Champion dies, world falls in darkness, cycle repeats 4 centuries later. Then we finally get the hero again, defeats the evil. If Link wins, then it leads into Ocarina. Evil comes back, worse than before. And then that splits off into another 2, where champion dies, champion wins. What if these are just 4 separate Ashes, and one of them leads into Ash versus Evil Dead?
That would make sense, and it would. I mean, have you seen any of the show? Because that's the part.
Bits and pieces. I think I seen some of the first season. I don't think I finished it.
Okay. So we've watched all of the first season, but I was waiting for it all to come out, and now we have all 3. So honestly, now that we've watched Evil Dead, I think it's going to be crucial that we at least continue to talk about that on the side, and you and I can watch.
We should revisit some show stuff come October, because that'd be a good lengthy conversation to have during Spook Month.
Agreed. I still think maybe in the next coming weeks we should talk about how we feel about the show just for 5 minutes. It's like an Evil Dead update or highlight or something. I don't know.
Right on, yeah.
It's a thought, because I am interested now that we watched the whole thing, watching the show right after instead of waiting until October, because I won't.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
same,
No,
I won't
I
have
hear
the
you
same
saying.
feels. So that's a thought.
I'm just saying, if we go into that process now, not to bury the lead, but having watched all these films, where does this one rank among the other ones?
For me,
yeah.
Do you want me to tell you how I feel about it now, or how I felt about it when I saw it on opening night?
Both, but let's start with opening night. Let's start with the fresh take.
Okay. On opening night, I walked out reinvigorated for horror.
Really?
I was ready for as much horror as I could take for the next few years. And then my anxiety got the better of me and I had to back off. But yeah, I was watching anything I could get my hands on at the time. My wife's a horror junkie. And I mean, like, she'll school you on horror. But anyway, she and I both watched as many as we could. She's, of course, continued, but I took a break between, I think, 2014 or 15 and then till probably a year or 2 ago, where I literally didn't watch horror movies for a couple of years. I just couldn't do it. That's true.
Hang on, there we go. So, how much time did you go, or when did it first hit that you had to take a break from the horror after seeing this movie?
I don't know, a year and a half. So I don't think this movie had anything to do with it.
No, I just mean since you've seen it, like, because you said you were reinvigorated. So I want to know, like, what point afterwards, like a year and a half, is when you started.
Because I think I overdid it. I think I started watching far too many horror movies because this movie got me so reinvigorated from it. So
Damn.
So this movie, because I've been a fan since Army of Darkness, because I remember seeing that right when it came out on VHS in the 90s, I think 92, 93 was when it came out on VHS. And I watched it like crazy. I love that movie. And watching it now through in the correct order, as an adult was very different than the way I experienced it growing up, because I was 15 when I watched it for the first time. Talk about the perfect movie for a 15-year-old, right? Like, it was dead on. All the jokes were ridiculous, over the top. It was campy. I love puns. I've loved them since I can remember. And so that's how I experienced it. And then, of course, I watched Evil Dead 2 and went, oh, they're tied together. Neat. Okay, well, maybe I should watch the original. And then was like, holy crap, that's wild and nightmarish. But still started to see the universe. And then when we heard this Evil Dead was coming out, we went to the Comic-Con to meet Bruce Campbell for this event, because he was touring Comic-Cons for that reason. And
That's so rad.
we got to go to his panel, and that was about an hour and a half at his panel, which was fantastic. I think we were probably third, fourth row. We didn't mess around. That was the same one that I got to meet Henry Winkler, which was awesome. And that's a great human right there, so as far as I can tell. Hey. Anyway, but meeting Bruce Campbell was fantastic, and watching his panel was fantastic. And my wife and I got a picture with him, and all to promote the movie. And of course, we got to watch the trailer at the panel. And did you watch the NC-17 version ever?
Do what?
The NC-17, the unrated version of this movie. Have you ever seen it?
Of Evil Dead?
Of Evil Dead 2013?
Yeah, that's the one I own. I bought this thing right away as soon as we started buying
so
Xbox,
this one,
I think, like 2 years ago.
This one has the razor blade with the tongue.
So was that not in the theater one?
No.
I swear to God that was, man.
So they put it in the preview.
Okay. Yeah, because I vividly remember that being a thing, and I think my brain just edited in there.
It did, because when I saw it in the theater, I went, what the bleep? This is bullcrap, man. Like, I literally was like excited to see her do that, because it showed how edgy, pun intended, that she was. So
well, they put it in a red band trailer too, so like you got
right.
to see it.
That's why the red band is why I saw it. And then when it was in the red band and wasn't in the movie, I was like, what in the crap are they doing to me? And that's one of those complaints I've had about previews that showed me something that wasn't in the movie. But if you watch the unedited version, the unrated version, they actually cut a little bit from the theatrical and add in quite a bit of the stuff. There's a little bit of it. There's an annoying little difference. They did the same thing with the Halloween remakes, the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes. There's a whole set of sequences in the unrated version that are really hard for most people to stomach, but they actually splice out some of the stuff with all the security guards from the theatrical in order to get this really awful scene into the uncut. And I hate it. Like, why didn't you just put them both in? If it's timing, then you should have thought about that before you shot all those scenes, man. Like, come on, give me everything or don't give me nothing. But don't give me this middle crap where I get some of what you showed me in the preview, but I have to watch both movies to get all the content.
Oh, that's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah. So this did a little bit of that, but not as bad as Halloween. Halloween did it by whole scenes were missing and replaced by other scenes to make it unrated. It was really weird. So
that's right. I think I've also only seen the unrated version of Halloween, so I'm not even sure what you're referencing. So I don't think I've seen. I watched those way later. I picked them up like years after, probably 5 or so after they came out.
So he's in prison or in the mental institution. He's going to break out, and in the theatrical version, his breakout involves killing a bunch of security guards who have all kind of grown on screen for us, and they're all classic horror movie actors that are in this scene. I think Tony Todd is in it and a few others, and I think Tom Savini's in it even. Like, there's a few pretty great faces. Like, you're like, oh, this is dope. He's really paying homage to the genre. And then, Michael breaks out and does his thing. But in the unrated version, that scene is cut, and it's actually him doing the guards doing that really awful shit in the cell, and then Michael comes in and saves the girl. And then doesn't.
Okay, yeah.
That is in the unrated version, while all the scenes with the celebs have been pulled.
Weird. I thought the creeper guy was Tom Savini, though.
I'm not saying they're not in other scenes. I'm saying this scene with them like palling it up is removed.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still the security guards. You'll still see them throughout the film, but it's not. It's just this one scene that I actually felt, for horror movies for me to work really well, I gotta like what's going on with the characters, and if I can get involved even as side character for a minute and you give me some of their life, I'm gonna get involved when they die. And that's what you want. You want me to feel like, dude, the bad guy's bad, everybody run. But if I don't
Right.
care about the characters, this is what's wrong with some of the more modern horror movies, is the characters are just assholes. And I'm like, good.
This was some of your problem with Freaky, right?
Yeah, most of the characters were assholes. So that's my
Yeah.
problem with Friday the 13th, the remake, the 2009 one we were talking about. Most of the kids are just dicks. And when
Yeah.
they get theirs, I'm like, just chalking the kills up. Let's just
It
write the
feels
kills,
like comeuppance or something, which is never. But okay, interestingly enough, didn't it start off as like a Puritan type, don't fool around as kids movie
The original Friday the 13th?
thing? Yeah, wasn't that like part of the subliminal messaging or something? Is like all the
It
kids
wasn't
who got killed
subliminal.
were ones.
Like Voorhees,
Well, not subliminal. I can't think of the.
the mom.
I know that's a
Voorhees.
major plot point,
Right.
yeah, but like, weren't a bunch of movies from that era like kind of
Oh yeah.
punishing kids for exploring their sexuality?
In
and
Jason
doing
Goes to
drugs and
Hell, there's a safe sex ad built right into the movie.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
So the two kids are screwing around in a tent, and they're getting hot and heavy, and the guy pulls out, or the girl pulls out a condom, and the guy goes, "Oh please baby, don't, oh this is terrible, oh," and she's like, fine, and she throws the condom outside the tent. Jason walks over, steps on the condom specifically, and kills them both.
Wow.
Tell me that's not a safe sex ad.
Either that or that's some hilarious like lampshading the whole.
I don't know, but I took it as like, whoa, they really put that in there. Okay, I'm okay. Condom.
That's kind of awesome, not gonna lie, because like the whole roots of the
Right.
he's trying to make mama proud.
No,
But-
in a way that the trope is built in because the first one was about how the kids were having sex and ignored her kid and he died. So,
Right.
well, and he got all messed up and demonized somehow. He literally absorbed a demon at the bottom of that lake.
Right.
That's one of the most mysterious movie monsters of them all. Freddy got explained. They don't explain Jason really, not really.
That's the neat thing about him though, because I feel like that's okay to tangent here. The thing I didn't like about the Rob Zombie movies and most Rob Zombie movies in general is he tells you way too damn much. And there's a point where like origins are cool and all, but when you explain away everything, you kind of lose that special sauce.
I think that for his first two films, if you look at House of a Thousand Corpses, where they don't explain much, in fact, the whole Dr. Satan thing doesn't get really, they just show it to you, but they don't explain it to you. And then the Devil's Rejects, they do a pretty good job there too, because he took a different movie trope or a different movie genre and blended it in, which was like, the buddy cops, but they were it was horror guy. And I liked it, but then he made another movie where he literally just goes too far and just ruins the characters by continuing their story when they shouldn't have continued. So I agree. In that narrative, he did it in the long haul, and then in Halloween, you're right. I think
don't get
like
me wrong,
guy.
I like his stuff. I just feel like that's the one thing he always takes it too far in the sense of it's just like, I would have enjoyed this more if I knew less.
But you got to remember how he grew up, where they didn't tell anything. He grew up in the 70s, where those were his horror movies, where the gore wasn't there. It was more psychological, and so he wanted more gore, and that's what he wanted.
Well, no, okay, I'm not even saying I don't mind the gore. I'm just saying story beats wise, I don't need to know everything about what's happening right now, and if a little more mystery would make it a little more tense and exciting versus like
tantalizing, if you will.
Yeah. And also like showing us the shitty guy in the stall be a scumbag before he gets killed. It's like I know the dude's like a movie icon, veteran actor, but like I don't know. I feel like they try to humanize the villains too much, and that just gets in the way of the spectacle of him being this like senseless, ruthless killing machine. We don't know why he's doing what he's doing, compared to just like giving him a backstory and telling us everything about it and making him like kind of a tragic figure. Not that they ever justify Michael Myers, but they show too much stuff where it's like, ugh, like I don't want to feel like this dude in the stall who was being a jerk.
No, but they make Michael Myers in these new movies out to be the victim in a lot of ways. And
yeah, for sure. But like that's another thing I'm saying though. I prefer him as just being the masked dude you have no idea who's under there
or why.
And then even in the original Halloweens, when they start doing more story stuff, I feel like that's when it kind of loses the plot,
I agree. Sorry, hydrating. So back to Evil Dead, because this is a great film for that, because it really does. It's like the pinnacle of a certain point of horror where after 2010, 2013, 2014, 2015, horror has changed. It has had to change because the tropes were so old hat that anything from the early 2000s just feels like a remake of anything from the 90s, which was a remake from the 80s, which was a remake from the 70s. And
For sure.
so people are trying to turn the tropes on their head, and that's fine, but they can only be turned over once or twice. This is my problem with the dark world of Zack Snyder. You only go so dark with characters. Sooner or later, we're going to have to get classic Superman in the really bright colors again, because it won't make sense otherwise.
Yeah.
It's going to come around. It just is. This is why.
Well, it's already working its way there too. When you got stuff like multiverse happening, and now they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
I know.
By going dark with this and going light with that, and there's multiple options. It's kind of like the whole sauce conundrum. Did you ever hear about the guy that came up with the multiple spaghetti sauces?
What? No, what?
Yeah, there's a marketing thing where, like, originally there was just one kind of sauce, and there was a dude that came along and he started messing with the formula and showed people, like, what would you think if we added more tomatoes in there? And they'd never had that before, and so people ate it up. And then he's the reason we have like 10 different kinds of sauces, because he would do little study groups, and when you show people something they haven't had before, sometimes they really eat it up because they didn't know that was an option. I think we're going to come back around to the kids growing up on all these dark Batmans that kind of suck in terms of just like heroing it up. They're going to get something campy in like the next 10 years, and they're going to eat it up and go wild with it. And then Batman's going to be goofy for like a generation.
That's already happening, because there are people alive today that are coming back and going, look what was around in the 90s. And I'm like,
well, it's happening more in the animated sense, because we've had like kid shows taken away. But I'm saying, like, movie wise, someone's going to screw up and do like a Schumacher. But instead of being totally panned and hated, people are going to eat it up because they're just so tired of getting the same old thing, you know?
But can they pan it up when even movies like Scott Pilgrim are doing that on purpose? Like, it's getting tougher. And people are savvy as audiences.
That's true.
It's getting harder to make movies and get people to be wooed and awed. I mean, look, Marvel had to make 23 movies to awe them in the end of the Endgame movie. And WandaVision's great, but only for the uber nerds. I don't think it's pulling in new audiences. Maybe a few, but I don't think it's pulling anybody that's not already like, dude, MCU. I don't see.
Well,
the
like,
average
I have
American
friends that have only watched the Avengers movies. They have not watched any of the tie-in stuff,
and that's okay.
Other solo stuff.
I think that's fantastic. That's not. There are some of us that'll watch them all, which is me all the way. I'm going to watch. It's a story arc. There's more to a universe. Yeah, some of them are going to suck. Sorry, but they have done such a cool job of doing so many genres of movies within the MCU. The only thing they're missing is a really good horror movie,
which we might be getting. So that's nice.
True. And if they went to the Blade world the way I think they should, that should be one of the places we get it from.
But like, there are people though that have totally only tuned into the movies that had Marissa Olsen in it, which is kind of wild because you miss a lot of context. But they see the lady they like, and
you mean
they go
Elizabeth?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Elizabeth. What's say Marissa?
That's okay. Yeah, no,
Scarlet Witch, right?
Scarlet Witch is Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah, so they would have watched Age of Ultron. They would have watched Civil War. They would have watched probably the Iron Man movies, because most people have seen at least the first Iron Man movie.
You'd think, but there are people that haven't jumped in until, like, there's some people that only did Avengers Forward.
I watched Iron Man and Hulk back to back in the theater that summer. Like, there was no way I was missing this. And people might have their problem with it. But
there's people that like graduated high school though a couple years ago, and they totally jumped in from the ensemble forward.
Whoa! I keep forgetting that, you know, because I'm far enough up in age that I forget sometimes that as the kids graduate, you know, and become 18, 19, 20, or even just 16, this is their realm. But they were too young to watch it when maybe Avengers came out 9 years ago. So I didn't think about that. That's a good point. So, but those are some of the nerdiest kids about this stuff. So, a sophomore.
Yeah, when I was a sophomore in college, that's when Avengers 1 came out. But when my cousin graduated high school, he was, I think, right around Age of Ultron. And then when his brother hit like the age I started watching these kind of things, he could have jumped in straight from freaking Guardians. And some people did. Some people only know like certain sections of this fandom because they weren't there from the beginning,
That's
and they
weird.
don't know these things as a whole.
You'd think so there was a TikToker that I was watching the other day that actually brought up a really good point, and they actually started doing it a little bit, but not in the right way. In comic books, when you read them in order back in the day, they do it now still, but not as much because you could buy them in whole graphic novel form better nowadays.
Hmm.
What they would do is when they get to a plot point that's related to something from another comic, they would literally put an asterisk, and it would show you at the bottom which issue to go in what comic book. And it'd say, Fantastic Four number 385 talks about that bad guy, and you can go pick up on the story
Nice.
from there. And this happens all the way through Marvel Comics, but they haven't done this in the MCU. But there are ways that you could do that. Just go in, they could even do it now still, and just put it as an overlay on any of the movies and just throw a little asterisk and frickin' boom. Check out this movie for this related content.
I think that's where they want to do with Disney Plus. I think that's the future they're wanting to get to.
They could still go
Is
back
to
and
get you.
retroactively put it on there, though.
Well, for sure, but I think when Disney Plus finally has like a couple years under its belt in a bigger library than just Marvel stuff, I think they're probably gonna do annotated and or even just like hypothetical, watch it with annotations on, and then like you go watch Captain America: First Avenger, and when you get to the grenade scene, be like, why don't you click on What If and see what happened if Steve died and Peggy took the serum
Right.
instead?
Or what they could do is if you've skipped ahead and you're watching Avengers and you don't get that reference that him and Fury just talked about, it'll literally just show you the one scene that relates to what's going on, so you could be kept in context.
That'd be kind of wild. They should do it with horror movies too, because there's a lot of stuff that like gets referenced around that
Agreed.
people might not have any idea.
This would take some pretty big servers, but it's doable. It's totally doable.
Right.
Evil Dead 2013 is probably the goriest film that I can stand watching, because there are probably gorier, like Human Centipede and things like that, but I can't watch them. This one is just as much as I can handle. It's the right amount. And it's brutal, but I think it's the way the movie was meant to be made, but it was made 30 years later. And I think this is the movie Sam wanted to make, but he didn't have the tools or the money. If you look, like, that's what it looks like to me, because that's the gore they tried to put in the first film, but you were talking about a college budget and low production quality stuff, and it's not their fault. They did what they had. It's awesome. I love their movies. I'm not going to knock people for not having the money. I'll knock them for writing crappy shit, but
Right.
anyway, what's your favorite gross moment?
Favorite, as in how?
In the movie Evil Dead 2013, what's the grossest moment that stands out as like, oh, wow, well done, grossed me out the best, I liked it?
It's hard to. Okay, so like the grossest one for me was probably the unrated box cutter thing. That was pretty wild. The jaw and needle syringe thing gets me.
When she's
Um,
cutting her own jawbone, the character that's
yeah,
looking in the
yeah,
mirror.
yeah, and then she attacks the dude
Dude.
with the pen cap. That was pretty gnarly. But like my favorite scene is probably just the last one, because the payoff after the whole movie, I gotta say though, like this whole setup was brilliant. Um, there's a lot of dumb reasons to go to a cabin in the woods, but this was the first time I was like, oh shit, this is kind of, because they established sentimental attachment,
Mhm.
and then also put an urgency in there. Is in Mia has an addiction, she needs to get clean, and we can't leave no matter what she says, which I hate as like a person that's constantly watching movies, be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why don't you do the thing? But the fact that like they set her up to be gaslit by these people because she's had these tendencies and problems that they've done stuff before, I thought that was such a good execution
Agreed.
of why they need to stay. And then by the time they decide to make the decision, it's too late anyway.
Totally agree. So on
That
that
was
note,
genius.
agree. And on that note, and I think we spoke about this a little bit before, I have an opposite problem with one problem with the film. And I love the film, but this is my biggest problem with the film. Main character, that all makes sense. Her brother, the nurse, the girlfriend, all of those characters make sense. But then you have this character, Eric, who's the teacher. He's a teacher. So my thought
Right.
is, he's a smart guy, teacher. That means he's going to think before he acts. But no, this dude has to read the book. Why are you reading it aloud, dude? Read it in your head. If you can read that language, why are you not reading it in your head? This was my biggest problem with the film, because in the original films, they used a tape recorder to play words you didn't know were in
someone
there.
else's.
So you push the button, it plays, you go, what was that? And you turn it off. Even in the first one, they do that. They're like, it's creepy, turn it off. And it starts without them even knowing. In this one, this dude had to be a total dink and freaking set it off, and they told him not to mess with it, and he did it anyway. That's a trope in horror movies I can't stand.
Yeah, I get that. I hear you. And I think in the second movie they play it better because the guy that keeps playing the tape is egging on that other girl, and he's just being a total douche about it. The thing I got from this movie, and I'm sure it's got little subtext here and there, and you can pick up on things. I got the feeling that this guy thought he was better than everyone because he was the teacher. The lady was just the nurse. The dude who even knows what the hell he does. He just ran away from his family and problems. The gal had a drug addiction.
Why did I get a mechanic feel from him? I don't know. Like he works at an auto shop.
Well, honestly, he reminded me of Nick Ramos from the Dead Rising series.
Yep. So the
totally
photographer? You think he's a photographer?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not the photographer. In the third game, you play as a mechanic, and he looks just like this guy.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. But I just got a feeling this guy thought he was better than everyone else. And it's weird when I was watching it again, and like he totally has this like, guys, we shouldn't be doing this. This is so stupid. And then he decides to go through with reading the thing. I kind of wondered if that was just the Evil Dead or the spirit or whatever influencing him and using his own freaking piousness and superiority over other people.
Nah.
To manipulate him, you know?
We don't need demons for that. We got that on our own.
For sure, but if you think about everyone's flaws, all right, the lady that was the nurse tried to pretend like she knew what was going on. The dude kept avoiding all his problems and like skirting around what needed to be done. The gal was going through withdrawals, so like no one was going to believe her anyway. And the dude that had all the knowledge, like I feel like he had something to prove, and maybe that was just the evil feeding them little suggestions and stuff.
No, because the evil wasn't released until after they read the book.
Well, it may always be present though. That's the thing. Because, why did the dog scratch at the thing and pull the floorboards? And, there may be little things that lead them there. Sure. But I'm saying there may be things that lead them there. Like in the last one, or in the second one, I mean, the wind blew it open. The evil may be present, but can't act until the words are spoken. But I think it can do influences and, make itself known. And I think that might be why.
I'm going to put out a support to your theory. If you go to the first film, you've got the chair. And it stops.
Right.
And that's there.
I think
from
it's
the
always
first film.
there. It's the words manifested so they can make the Deadites.
So it can become physical so it's in spirit form and tries to do its best like a ghost would. But as soon as you read the words, it becomes flesh, just like it says. Literally. And what does it do? It finds the nearest host. So it's a ghost virus?
Possibly, or I mean, honestly, if you want to think about it, it's the movie's called Evil Dead, so it's the evil, and then the thing is that it reanimates those and steals the life from, those that it's afflicted.
Evil Dead. Maybe it's just dead that's evil, though, and it just.
Do we care about spoilers at this point?
I don't know. I mean, this movie's. Okay. I mean, just the. Are there spoilers for this film?
Well, I mean, if you want to go in fresh and not hear about any of the kills, because that was the one I want to discuss right now.
Go ahead.
And another one that it totally slipped my mind, but then I started thinking about it. The girlfriend, man, her death was brutal.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, God.
And if you think about it, the evil tells her, "Don't do it, bitch. Don't cut your arm off." And then when she did, that's what she wanted. She wanted her to bleed out so she could take her body over.
Yeah, see, Jean Levy does such a good job playing both sides of that. She does great as playing the protagonist and great as playing the antagonist. I thought they picked a perfect actress for that.
That was a good premise there too, because we've seen some of that in the second one, and we see a little. We see a comical side of it in Army of Darkness, but this is the first time we see someone start as the Deadite and then become the hero.
Right, which
was really cool for a twist.
Definitely. Yeah, no, this. So I've told you before, this is how I feel. when a remake is done poorly, it shows, mostly because two things. It will not properly source the original material, and then it doesn't pay homage to the original material. So this movie does both perfectly. It uses all the original material exact, with some nice little fun twists that we're not ready for, and it pays homage with all the tropes. And here's one of the things I love. So the necklace from the original Evil Dead is in this movie. He hands it to her from brother to sister rather than from lovers. So it's still about love.
Right.
And then the car, that 1981 Oldsmobile, is in every Evil Dead movie. That exact one. It's owned by Sam Raimi. He put it in the first movie. It was the car he owned at the time, and it has been in every movie he's made since.
Huh.
And when I say every movie, that includes The Quick and the Dead.
Interesting.
That's a Western. And I'm talking like a Western takes place in like 1890. And he put his 81 Oldsmobile in that film.
Huh.
Would you like to know how?
How?
He ripped the entire body off, left the chassis, and turned it into a wagon.
That's pretty rad.
And he's done it. So that 81 that you see there in the movie is his. That's still brought back for the set.
Huh.
Except now that car's been sitting there for a long time. Because that's not the car. That car's just been sitting there. It's decrepit and broken. So that's what makes me lead things like that, lead it to the same world. The necklace.
Huh. Yeah. Son of a gun.
The shed.
Right.
The chainsaw.
That was also a great expectation subversion when it starts off with the meat cutter.
Right.
It's like foreshadowing for what's going to come, and then it looks like a chainsaw, and then she's just like...
Man, that movie is so brutal. That movie is so brutal. I watched the opening scene, and the opening scene has got to be one of the darkest, most brutal opening scenes to a horror film. It just is, because it makes you think for just a second that it's a 70s like snuff film for just a minute, right? And you're like, holy crap, what are they going to do to this poor girl? And then the next thing you know, the poor girl is tied to a stake, and now you're like, what the hell is this, like some voodoo ritual? What is going on? And then all of a sudden they start talking, and it's a little girl and her dad. And of course I'm a dad, and I'm just really not fond of this anymore. But of course I'm sitting there visioning things I don't want to envision. And that dad, man, like that, oh my God, it's so brutal. And that fire, it's real fire.
Yeah. Ugh.
They actually burned stuff and then took the fire and digitally laid it over the actress.
Damn.
Yeah. God, I love that movie. I mean, it's so hard to watch, but maybe once my kid's like an adult, like grown up and like doing her own thing, I'll be like, all right, I can watch these again. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see. So what do you rate this one?
It's hard to say, because this is a really I think it's the best put together of all the films, just because it's like a fresh take with the same materials, and it was like this dude's first big thing. But I found this movie hard to watch. Like, I don't remember having this many issues when I saw it originally, but damn, this thing was like brutal. There were quite a bit of kills and like effects that I knew were coming that I just kind of didn't want to see again, even though like they were playing in my head anyway. I can't remember what I've rated the other ones. I would give this one the highest rating, though. Whatever my last one was, I would give this a point higher than that.
I don't remember what you rated them either. We should be writing this down.
We should be, but this is still beta phase.
True.
But yeah, I would recommend this. Like, this is definitely a must watch. I don't even think you need to watch the other ones to get to this one. I think there's things you can appreciate and gather you wouldn't normally get. But this is like a standalone, like the whole setup and premise and execution for this. That finale, man, the whole freaking time after seeing everyone go through all that shit, like, you're not sure what's going to happen next. And I think the ending is almost something reminiscent of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, I agree.
No pun intended.
But it was suspenseful and it was believable. And even though it was supernatural, and there's some differences in the end that start to make me think about a larger world, but then they do touch on some of that in the show. So, which I like. So yeah, Evil Dead 2013, good stuff. So you're gonna rate it a point higher than whatever you rated the best Evil Dead of the movies.
Yeah, definitely. No
It's your
hesitation.
it's your favorite.
Yeah. But
So
it's also it's hard to watch.
it
It's
is.
not fun. It is
No,
not fun. It's a
I don't
good
think it's.
setup and like it's technically I'd say perfect almost. Um, but
Yeah, it's
god damn, this is a struggle.
not meant to be fun. It's meant
I
to.
couldn't
Yeah.
recommend this to everyone though. I could recommend Army of Darkness to anyone hands down. But
Right.
like there are people I'd be like you don't want to like you can't watch this. This movie's not for you.
The tones that we talked about with how dark the second one was, even though it was like trying to be comedic, but as soon as the comedy died down, you were like, wow, this is really terrible. That dude just cut off his girlfriend's head. Like, that's really awful. This movie
Yeah.
embodies that for the whole film. There's really no comedy in it. They pulled the comedy and the tropes, even that you get a little bit in the very first one. There's not meant to be there, but there's a few parts where you're like, oh, that's pretty dumb. And it makes you laugh. This one didn't have any of that. You're just like, that's terrible. That's awful. Oh, that's still terrible. That's awful. No, stop. No, ow, ooh, painful. That's in the bone.
There's like a zinger at the end and that's it.
Yeah, yes, things like the redemption joke and things like that. But
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like that's why the payoff I think is my favorite part. When you ask me like which gory thing is it's the end, because after dealing with all of this shit, when it's over, you're just like, oh, thank Christ! Like,
no, that's yeah, I get
there's
it.
a
I get
sense
it.
of relief, and it's also like it's really freaking gory, and you're like, all right, they want you to know this is the finale. Like,
Yeah, when that movie came out, there were talks of another Army of Darkness movie. There were talks of more to come after that, and we were all like, "What's coming? What's coming?" We got excited, and the next thing you know, we got a TV show. Oh, wow! Lady Crossheart rating with 10 viewers. 10 people just showed up. Hello, Lady Crossheart.
woo!
Thank you for the raid. Wow. We just got finished talking about Evil Dead 2013, and we are literally about to start talking about the Warriors here in just a minute. So I know that Smash Bros is going to be totally stoked. So that's awesome. And then yeah, so I didn't rate Evil Dead 2013 yet, so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my best. Evil Dead 2, I think I rated it a 10. I'm gonna put this at a 9, only because I do think it's almost nearly a flawless horror film, because it brings horror, but it's a gore film rather than
Yeah.
Angel's back with another movie idea, which I love. We're gonna have to hear this. Absolutely.
Oh yay!
Fry Guy's excited. I love it. So yeah, we're gonna definitely hear that. But
I can't see the chat, so you're gonna have to read it to me. So I'm extra excited now.
oh boy, I'm gonna try. So of the films, I think it's a 9, only because I can't keep watching it. It's something that I started watching it this time, but I've seen it enough times that I can review the film all the way through without having to watch it again, because I've seen it enough times. But I honestly, you're right. I wouldn't recommend this movie for anybody who has anxiety issues or who thinks about getting hurt in real ways. If that brings you pain, don't watch this movie.
Yeah, if you got like a needle thing or a blood thing or a knife thing
or a nail
or
thing.
any of the logical things you could have, this is not this. I would say this movie's not for the faint of heart. But if you can stomach it, it's well worth the trip. And if you have to watch this thing with your fingers in your face and like peeking, I still recommend that.
Yeah.
But just like if you know that this is not your cup of tea, do not be brave. Work your way up. I promise you, starting from the beginning is such a gentle dip into the pool from the kiddie side all the way down to the freaking deep end. But by the time you get to this thing, the freaking wave machine is on and it will knock your ass out.
So, Lady Crossheart asked, "How are you doing?" And I'm gonna take that as both of us. I'm doing all right. We got our stream back up to the regular style, and we got to watch some great movies this week. If you didn't get a chance, watch Love and Monsters. Everybody in the chat, watch Love and Monsters. Great flick.
Highly recommended.
But we will see you in a minute there, Smash Brothers. Go ahead, Ed. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing a lot better. Last week wasn't bad by any stretch. It was a little weird doing the Minecraft thing. I don't feel as distracted as I did then. Not that I wasn't having a good time. It's a good Valentine's Day.
Right.
This lineup of movies, though, each one has like a special thing about it, and I think I found them at the right time because, like, I mentioned this earlier, and maybe it was off stream, but not. I was never really a big horror guy, but this was one of the first ones I remember sitting down in the theater and like start to finish was like, damn, that was a flick, and it left an impression. And I think it opened the floodgates, or the floodgates, depending on how you do Raimi stuff, into me wanting to try more horror stuff because this thing just really it's got like something for everyone if you're just skeeved out by specific things. And Love and Monsters was like a good needed this film right now given the climate we're in and like not being able to go anywhere.
Agreed.
So I think everything we picked this week was just like hit me at different times when I needed it.
I agree with that only because The Warriors was a nice kind of step away from everything, and it took me back to a time that I remember as a kid. Not that I was born, or not that I was running around in '78, but I was alive, and I do remember how the world felt in the early '80s, which is very similar. So in that way,
Well,
I
yeah,
agree. It gave me like a weird nostalgia for a time I didn't experience, but no.
well, yeah, that's the thing.
Uh,
You got to experience the ending, the wrapping up. Whereas, like when I grew up, I got to experience the wrap up of the '80s.
right.
So I had '80s residue everywhere. I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff in this you still got nostalgic for, even though you weren't alive
Right.
during it, but it was still present.
Right. The feel, the music, the looks, the bell bottom pants were still around in the early '80s. People don't want to admit that, but they were there. It's not like all of a
Oh
sudden in
God,
1980 people started wearing the
dude,
suits. Like that's
we
not
could
how it
do a
went.
whole freaking show on this wardrobe. I loved
Oh
every
yeah.
outfit in this
Oh yeah.
stupid movie.
So Evil Dead, don't watch it if you can't handle it, but definitely check it out if you like really gore filled flicks. There are
Recommended, but not recommended for everyone. That's
right.
for sure.
There are two types of horror fans that I found. I have a friend of mine, Zachok, who's on Xbox with me and whatnot. He loves the gore fest movies, but he can't handle the supernatural horror movies. So like Paranormal Activity or anything about demons and ghosts and stuff. And it sounds like you have that kind of same kind of thing where like if you were going to get spooked by one, it'd probably be a ghost story, but the rest you can handle.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
For me, it's the other way around. I can usually handle the really, really gory flicks. If you took all the like parenting stuff out of this one, I'd probably be fine because the gore doesn't bother me. It's the emotional attachment that I have to the characters when they have similar feelings that I do or live in the same kind of life where they're a dad or they're just a person with, like in love. So when somebody's partner dies, I'm like, I can't handle that. Because I feel it. I try to put myself in people's shoes. So,
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad we mentioned this too, because earlier in the stream we talked about your experience day one opening night and your experience now.
yeah.
And I think that's a good perspective to have because you've got a lot of life you can pull from to be like, earlier I felt this, but now it's totally different and, new context, new life experience.
Well, and this is why I tell people, like, there's a rule in our house that if you saw a movie before you were 20, now, if you're over 20, you should watch it. Maybe not 20, but it's kind of a weird rule. If you saw the movie before you were 20, but you're over the age of 30 or over 40 or whatever, you have to watch the movie again because you did not see the movie as an adult, which means you didn't really experience it in the same way you would now as a person that analyzes film. So if you loved The Neverending Story when you were a kid, which I did, I still need to go back and watch that as an adult. I haven't done that. And for all I know, it doesn't hold up, or it does, and
that's probably going to mess you up, dude.
Yeah, I know Atreyu and all that, Rocket Biter. I know I have problems. That movie already was one of my favorites as a kid. Welcome back, Smash Bros. We're literally about to start talking about Warriors. I was kind of waiting for you to get back. Since this was your movie request. And of course, those that don't know, you can of course request a movie to be reviewed by using the channel points, the tickets down there. All you gotta do is just hang out and talk to us. And what had just happened? Something made a noise. I can still see my microphone moving. Are you there, Mr. Fry Guy? I think I lost the Fry Guy. I did. Hold on. I'm going to have to call him back. I lost my Fry Guy. Wait. He's coming back online.
You there?
He's there. You dropped.
Did I get dropped?
You got dropped for just a second. I heard it happen, and then It's okay. We're good. We're back. You're here.
That spooked me. Coming off the Evil Dead, that was not nice.
2.7K. What's that for? Can somebody explain the 2.7 thousand? Who's got 2.7 thousand? 2.7 thousand what? Now I'm really really curious. And those are awesome freaking Iron Man emotes. Those are dope. They're just the mask. You can't see them, Ed. I'm sorry. You should. You should come watch. It's so great.
I can feel them. Well, dude, if I could, but this crappy internet.
I know.
It's unlimited for 50, man, so I'm getting what I pay for.
I know. And we can hear you. I can hear you. If I can hear you, they can probably hear you, so...
That legit freaked me out, though, man. I'm sitting there watching our faces light up and stuff and, like, seeing the call, and then bam!
27. He's got 300 more points to get. He'll get his points to request another movie tonight. Okay, so here, Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Do me a favor, if you can, because we're doing the Warriors. But if you could... Oh, my wife is bringing me food because she's amazing. She knows I'm streaming. So I'm going to be eating some freaking... Oh, deliciousness. Thank you, love. Anyway, pardon me as I probably will mute my mic and eat, but that's okay. So, and Smash Bros says he hears you. So when you do pick a movie, if you pick one that is not monster movie related, we're going to have to push it off until April, and that's a bit of a ways. But if you can think of a monster movie that's not already a King Kong or Godzilla monster movie that you would like us to review for the movie or for the month of March, we're going to totally drop it in there. So that's kind of just, we're going for a theme in March, and yeah. So,
and like, listen, we can get as abstract as you want. We can do we can do Anaconda, we can do Attack of the Killer Frickin' Tomatoes if you want.
Just make sure it's a movie monster.
Yeah, like
Sweet.
It doesn't matter, man. If it's got a critter that's either dead or, magic or science, whatever, just something that's not normal attacking people. It could be dumb. It could be cool. Like, we'll squeeze it in. And we'll tell you what you think about it.
We will. And, I was bringing up, I'll be farming my points. That's awesome. And we appreciate it. Like that. We love the viewership and we want to review movies, and we have a ton we can review, but this will give us a chance to see what you guys would like us to review. And then we can tell you. So maybe before you, getting us to review more movies, you should see how I feel about the one that you had us review for this week, because I had never in my life watched The Warriors, and so it was really interesting to sit down and really watch it. But yeah, to that point, Gremlins also fits into the category of monsters, so it can be anything, critters, gremlins. It can be... I
mean, even Frankenstein, if you want to stretch the definition, because that is
It has a movie monster in it, absolutely. In fact,
it doesn't have to be big kaijus. We're just doing that because this is coming out on HBO Max, so we would get the most out of that.
You might even consider slasher serial killer types monsters because they don't die, so they're really become monster and supernatural. We weren't really headed that direction, but if you were like, I want to know what Ed and Eric think about X, then please,
yeah,
we're not closing it off.
Tremors to Jason Takes Manhattan, You
mean Jason rides a boat for an hour and a half and then walks around Manhattan for 10 minutes?
But he's got the funky face, so.
That movie was so disappointing based upon its previews, but that's beside the point.
That'd still be fun to review. I'm actually excited about it now that I even said it, and I wasn't wanting to watch it, and now I am.
So we need to figure out when the next Friday the 13th is and then do a marathon for that.
Yeah, we could.
And that's what we're open to. Like, if you guys have ideas for like what themes to go for in the months, we're open to that. We've been throwing around the idea of doing a 70s theme for a whole month of 70s movies, or a couple of weeks, or we could do a week here or a week there or 2 weeks, or
yeah. And if you're a fan of Ryan Gosling, next week's going to be jam-packed.
Okay, yeah.
Canadian hunk boat.
So next week we're going to be watching 3 Ryan Gosling films. We're going to watch Shane Black's The Nice Guys. We're going to watch The Big Short, and then we're going to watch Crazy Stupid Love. Those are next week's movies. Pan's Labyrinth for Lady Crossheart, if she's still here, is going to go right on into our monster movie marathon, and because that is without a doubt monster movies. It'll sit
those
nicely.
Special effects need to be appreciated among more context, not just
right. So we're going to finish off the month of love, if you will, with a bunch of Ryan Gosling movies because he's great and we all love to hate him. So
I love to love him, man.
I know. And I hate that I love to love him is really what I'm saying. It's more jealousy. We'll get past all that. But anyway, we're going to be doing Pan's Labyrinth in the first week of March so that we can have it match up with all the monster movies that we're going to be doing. Because We're going to do King Kong. We're going to do Godzilla, the originals. And then we're going to do the whole series of the 4 new ones. And then we're going to do many other monster movies because there's more than enough. And I'm sure Pac Rim, Pacific Rim, if you will, that's the real movie title, is one of them. That's one I love. So I'm going to make sure that one gets put in there. And then...
And we still haven't seen the sequel, right? Neither of us?
I haven't seen Rising.
Yeah, me neither.
So we'll probably do those on the same week. And then figure out something else to throw in on that week. Maybe we could do that at the start. Do Pan's Labyrinth and the 2 Pacific Rim movies.
For March?
Yeah, for the first week of March.
I thought we were leading into Godzilla vs. Kong.
We are.
Do you want to do the 2?
Uh-oh.
We can do movie, new movie?
So you still want to keep our format?
Well, we don't have to. I'm just saying because that'll be the newest movie. But we could talk about those 2 because they're like literal sequels, and then go into the brand new spanking feature.
Okay, so that's going to be up for grabs. But next week's absolutely we're going to be doing 3 Ryan Gosling films: Nice Guys, The Big Short, and Crazy Stupid Love. So it's actually 3 Ryan Gosling films and 2 Steve Carell films, and one Brad Pitt film. So why not? So no, not necessarily even Son of Gorilla. Or you mean Godzilla? Would that be Son of Godzilla? You meant Angel? Because I know autocorrect wanted to make that Gorilla. I don't know. We haven't discussed all the Godzilla movies we're going to do or the King Kong movies we're going to do, except probably the 4 King Kongs, because there's only 4 of them, and that'll be easy to lead into. But that means we really just only need to pick 4 Godzillas to watch. And of course, the original 1954 un-Americanized version is the one we're going to do, or you don't want to watch them both.
Well, if we do 3 Godzillas, okay, so if we're doing Kongs and we're doing Skull Island and the 74 and the original, if we wanted to do, we could do like not March Madness, whatever, but we could do like the original Godzilla. We could do the Roland Emmerich Godzilla, and then we could do like King of Monsters, the last Godzilla that came out before.
If we're going to do that, I would want to do the Godzilla 2014 and compare the original, the in '98 remake, and then so if we're going to do that and we're going to do 4 of them, maybe we should do like Godzilla.
I just don't want to keep pushing Pan's Labyrinth back, you know?
No, we're not going to. So in the first week, we're watching Pan's Labyrinth and something else. Absolutely. It's on the first week of monster movies.
But that's not going to be the first Godzilla, is it? Or
no, we can watch the Godzillas as we get closer. We can watch them however we want. I'm not worried about that. I'm not saying we need to watch one a week or anything. We could do all Godzillas one week, or we could do use the Godzillas and King Kongs as our classics, as we go. We'll figure it out. Okay. We might even end up reviewing 4 films in a week because they're shorter, because some of those older films are pretty easy to watch through.
That's short. True, yeah.
We really want to make it a monster movie, and he and I have watched several of these films already and recently, so we won't have to watch as many of them to review them for you. Maybe just some highlights and talking about it a little bit ahead of time to give a good idea. Let's talk about the Warriors before we get too sidetracked.
Fair enough.
The Warriors. Made in 1978. Directed by a person I had never heard of.
Walter Hill?
Directed, yep. Produced by people I had never heard of. Where is it?
The last Walter Hill movie that came out, I think, was Bullet to the Head with Sylvester Stallone.
Yep, I wouldn't have watched that.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of notable stuff. This is definitely his magnum opus.
Oh, this is not showing up the way I want it to. It's The Warriors, because I'm a dork. Yeah, there it is.
That'd be a terrible name for a gang, the Dorks. Pocket protectors and...
Directed by Walter Hill, as you said. Also the director of... Okay, so he's got some good producing credits.
Yeah, definitely.
Alien movies across the board. Tales from the Crypt. These are all productions he's worked on. Red Heat.
He's tied to a lot of good stuff, but he hasn't really done the camera work for that much.
Yeah, you're right. Those are all writing credits. He wrote Alien 3 alongside others.
I
Let's
would be
see.
interested to know how that goes because that movie got all sorts of production hell problems.
So he directed The Warriors, 48 Hours, which got a lot of. I'm a fan of this guy. He directed Brewster's Millions. I really love that movie.
Oh, did he? Huh.
He also directed another 48 Hours, a bunch of Tales from the Crypt episodes, Geronimo, The Last Man Standing, Supernova, which was really not good.
Oof.
Bullet to the Head. Yeah, so he's kind of fallen off a bit here now. He did Undisputed, which was also not that good. So he did real well in the 80s, it looks like, and he earned his keep as far as a director goes. And then, of course, you got the actors. Michael Beck playing Swan, main character. James Remar playing Ajax. Of course, I know James Remar from the Dexter series. He's pretty great in that. And then several other actors I don't know and may have never seen in anything else.
They have a lot of bit parts in 80s and 90s films. They're usually like bad guys or side characters. I'm sure you've seen them around.
Sure, but they've got some great names. Here's the gang, the top 8 gang members. You got Swan, Ajax, Cleon, Snow, Cochise, Cowboy. Nope, Cowboy's from the other gang. Sorry.
No, Cowboy's the guy with the hat. There's Rembrandt, Vermin.
Vermin.
Snow, Cochise,
No,
Ajax.
Cyrus is the guy that gets jacked in the
Cyrus
beginning.
is the leader of the big gang. Cleon is the leader when they start the film.
It's weird they call him Swan and not Warlord, but anyway. So the film,
because he only became Warlord after Cleon bit it when they accused him.
I know. So I'd never even. So this is one of those movies where I saw the cover and it never drew me. And I know that's judging a movie by its cover, but we all do it, whether we say don't do it or not. We all still do it. And it's one of those movies I did that too. And as I got older and older and heard more and more cult classic, things about it. Oh, it's got a cult following. I'm like, yeah, but not for me. So I watched it. And I watched it in a few pieces because it wasn't catching my attention as much as I would like. And I still want to finish films even if I don't love them. And I'll tell you that there were tropes in it that I really enjoyed. There were parts of it that really stood out as what would have been groundbreaking because I do understand the film industry and what it was like in 1978. There were definitely parts for people of color and women that were not regularly heard of within the film genres of any kind at the time. And a couple surprise moments, and I'm not worried about spoiling a 1978 film, but at the same time, we're not trying to run out and just ruin the whole thing. But here's what I was trying to tell you. I wanted to tell you before the show and didn't tell you. I found that as I watched this movie that I realized that the director of Mystery Men made this. They made the same movie with superheroes.
Huh.
It's got the same feel. It's got the same tone. They even pay homage to the under the park, the street under the L train part where they're being chased by the other gang in the car.
Yeah, the Turnbull ACs.
That is the same scene out of Mystery Men. Also, all the gangs straight out of Mystery Men. So if you watch all the gangs,
which came first though?
Oh, Warriors came first. So I'm just saying this is what it was making me think of. So when they made Mystery Men,
I don't think I've seen Mystery Men.
Really? Ben Stiller?
Yeah. No idea.
Oh wow. So
this movie was seminal to my late adolescence.
Okay. Tell me more.
I went through this whole so for some reason I grew up, playing violent video games at a young age, and it like, what do they call that? Tangential learning. It got me into different things. So the first 3D Grand Theft Auto that introduced me to classical music, and then Vice City introduced me to 80s movies and themes, and so that got me listening to a lot of older tapes and tracking down movies like Scarface to understand the references. So I was total rockstar hound when I was like a sophomore and freshman. And I remember one afternoon watching some older crime flick on IFC, and a trailer came on for a video game coming out by Rockstar, who I recognize as the Grand Theft Auto makers, for the Warriors. And the second I seen that connection between those two, I had to know about this movie. And they were releasing the game around the time that Walter Hill had just released the director's cut of The Warriors. It was like the 30th anniversary, maybe 40th at that point. And so I went out and bought it and sat down and I watched that thing like 10 times in a week. And it's not the same cut of the film we watched if you watched the regular version. The director's cut starts with this really weird animated allegory to the Spartans that fought the Persians, and it does this whole setup with like a scroll text and these weird, like kind of Sistine Chapel religious looking mosaics of warriors on the beach. And it's kind of weird. Like if you watch the director's cut without having seen the movie, it kind of spoils how it's going to go.
Huh.
But it was funny watching this movie again and seeing the proper version, because apparently I had not seen the proper version until we decided to put it on our list for this bout. I enjoyed it just as much as I did back then. This movie's freaking great. And the fact that I was so jazzed about this from like age 16 and like fell in love with the game and played all the characters. I could list most of the gangs, at least 5 or more, that you don't even see for bit parts. The guys that they fight in the subway on the rollerblades, that's the Jones Street Boys. The dudes with the makeup on, those are the High Tops. The guys that chase them down, those are the Turnbull ACs. There's the Satan's Mothers. There's the Huns.
Satan's Mothers are the girl gang, right?
No, that's the Lizzies.
Oh, the Lizzies, that's right. And then there's the orphans.
Yeah. There's the orphans. There's the
Seems like
Riffs.
the orphans
Yeah,
seemed
right?
like they were one of the bigger gangs.
No, the orphans were nobodies.
I know there were nobodies, but
That's
I'm talking
why-
about they had numbers, they had size and numbers.
Oh, yeah. Because they were all poor people that just came together. They're probably kids that aged out of homes. And, that's why they just have the generic green shirts and rundown pants. So they might have the numbers because there's like more kids that just got booted out. But
Right.
they were nobodies in terms of the gang network. But
So-
yeah, like this movie just got stuck in my brain since I was basically 16. And I've been like chasing and riding that high ever since. Usually when I get down and I need something like I watch a bad movie, this is the movie that kind of bounces me back.
See, True Romance is one of those movies for me.
Huh.
But again, that's just the era I grew up in. And for you, this was connected to video games, and I get that. And Grand Theft Auto, I get because I grew up in the 80s, but when I played Vice City, I was like, wow, it's like living through the 80s again. They did a good job. They really did. So you get the feel out of Vice City from the 80s better than some movies ever nail it down.
For sure. This movie is based off of a novel, and it's like a 300-word thing. I think it was written by a Japanese author, I believe.
Really?
But it's not a straight one-to-one adaptation. There's a lot of liberties taken. But the Rockstar game takes place 3 weeks before the big meeting. It has its own backstory. So you basically get 2 stories in one. You get the story that leads up to the night, and then you get to play through the events.
Interesting.
And so before I got a chance to watch the movie, when I played that game, I had a friend over from high school, and there's a co-op mode. You can play that game from start to finish. So I got to see these characters become who they are, and they brought all the actors back to voice themselves. And it had that god-awful early Rockstars, like square face.
James
people.
Remar came back.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That guy got
Everyone
his, by the
came
way.
back.
That guy got.
Yeah, totally.
He got what he deserved.
And he's a total scumbag. And we even go back to the nice thing about the Warriors too. Okay, so the story in the game takes place 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, and then there's like the whole game is just a total beat 'em up, co-op adventure, and then you unlock a free roam mode where you can go like jack cars and like sell drugs and like get knives and fight other gangs for territory.
So
and then
you
unlock.
It was Bully, but you're grown up.
Better. It was better because you're just following the story of the game, and then you unlock little vignettes where you can do solo missions to find out who joined the gang and win. So I can tell you that the last person to join was Varmint, and he joined 3 weeks before that event.
So
And I
that's
can
why
tell
he
you
was.
this
That's
swamp-
why he was totally green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Vermin and Cleon used to roll with the Destroyers. They were members of that gang, and then they got set up by their dude, and they decided to make their own gang. And the first 2 people to join after that were Cowboy and Swan.
Angel has to take off. Have a great night, Angel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming
Yeah.
by. We always appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We're going to keep talking Warriors and through the rest of the evening here because there's a lot to talk about and unpack and a lot of scenes to talk about.
So what's
Speaking of
wild
which-
is like there's a lot of stuff you don't get from the movie in terms of like the full story, but the fact that they have like the fact that other movies have been trying to capture essences from this movie since, and the fact that they got everyone together to tell a bigger story like 30 years later, I think that speaks to volumes of like how influential this movie freaking was.
Mm-hmm. It influenced
dig
video
it.
games in itself.
Crap out.
That's why I think it's neat that what you're talking about, because the one game I got when watching this movie was Double Dragon.
Mhm. Okay, so I was getting there at this point when I was talking about the game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you beat the Warriors game to completion, you unlock a Double Dragon game where you get to play a side-scrolling game where you're Ajax and Swan, or no, Cleon and Swan, and you're trying to rescue. I think her name's Marissa.
The girl, yeah.
Yeah, the girl. And it totally starts the same way. They're all hanging out. Some dude comes up, slugs her in the stomach, throws her over his shoulder, and you just play Double Dragon, but with Warriors characters.
Because I swear, considering you said this was based on a Japanese story and then translated over, the vests and everything reminded me. I was like, this is where Double Dragon came from. And for me, Double Dragon is one of those quintessential arcade games that I played hours and hours and hours, and I've beaten it in the arcade. I beat it at home. Like, I loved that game because I love the simple beat 'em ups. That's why when the X-Men game came along, I was like, cool, it's Double Dragon, but with X-Men.
Right.
Same thing with Bart Simpson. I was like, oh, it's Double Dragon, but with Bart Simpson.
But you got to be careful where you do that because you don't want to catch any decent exposure.
What?
You can't beat it at home and the arcade and everywhere. You gotta pick your battles. That's a Pee-wee Herman joke. That's a deep cut.
I remember when that happened and everybody said, what's Pee Wee Herman's favorite drink?
Oh God, what is it?
Squirt.
That's so awful. And that's the first time I've heard that.
That's lived in my head for 20 years just so I could tell you.
Dude. Okay, so I must have been like, what, 9 when it happened? I understood nothing. I just knew that my parents didn't want me watching Pee-wee's Playhouse anymore.
Yep.
The character always bugged me, but I thought the show was fun.
It's a great show.
That's a nice little.
The dude
that's a nice little way to get.
He
back
made
to...
a stupid error. Whatever. Okay, what people don't understand. I'm trying to go off the rails here, but at the time, they didn't have pornography the way they do now. It's not like you could just go on the internet. You either had to buy it and take it home if you could, or you went to watch the new ones in the theater because they used to show them all in the theater.
That's such a wild concept.
They don't
people
do that anymore.
never understand that.
They don't do that anymore. So for him, he was just watching the movie in the theater like most people do. And if you aren't thinking that people went to the theater and did that all the time, they did it all the time. He just happened to get caught.
Dude, what's wild? Okay, you had to think. Okay, even now, just knowing how celebrities live because everything is like a window into the other.
Mm-hmm.
You think that a guy like him could have like his own private theater? I wonder if it was just like the voyeurism, doing it in public thing that was his bag, and then he just happened to have the unfortunate, you know, just happened to be the dude that can be recognized.
Or he didn't think he was very big.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Both of those are unfortunate.
It's not like he was, a mainstream actor. Pee-wee's Playhouse, sure, but more than that, really? I don't know.
Dude, it's so wild. Okay,
he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
What?
Oh, you didn't know Paul Rubens was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No, I'm totally drawing a blank right now.
He plays the sidekick vampire, the one that's got the long hair and goes, ee, ooh, ah. It's Paul Rubens.
Oh my God. Dude, this movie review is taking me on some trips. I'm getting like full context of things I didn't understand. And honestly, I think that speaks to the movie. Like, this movie itself is still referencing or being referenced and influencing shit that's happening today.
You're going to get even more freaked out. You're going to get even more freaked out.
Dude, blow my mind.
Yeah, there we go. Smash Bros. Just said it. Paul Rubens is also in Mystery Men.
What?
Yeah. He plays a guy whose special power is flatulence.
Oh, dude, I have to watch this now. This sounds amazing.
He's called, oh God, it's been a little while since I watched it. He's called, nobody wants to be around him because he smells. Because he can.
Okay, what? Was Mystery Men like a parody of the Warriors?
No, it was a parody of superhero comics, but I think they used the Warriors as their like basis, as the way to the Spleen. Thank you. His name was the Spleen.
That's so wild. It sounds like Mystery Men was like one of those not in other movies, but back when that concept could actually like carry
Well,
itself without being totally dumb.
totally a comic book before it was a movie, and then yeah, they totally ran with the Warriors thing. Like the gangs, there's a scene in in Mystery Men where Eddie Izzard, by the way, plays one of the gang member leaders,
Nice.
and the gangs are all throwbacks to the Warriors, all of them. You'll look and
Huh.
go, holy crap, the guys with the overalls and the striped shirts, they're in Mystery Men.
That's so funny. And because I know most of them because of the video game, I think I'll enjoy that movie even more now that when I finally watch it.
Oh, and they do the 70s throwback. The whole movie feels like the 70s.
Beautiful.
But it's
Yeah.
tons of comedians that have come by to do it, because it's Ben Stiller, it's William H. Macy, Paul Rubens,
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Janine Garofalo.
How have I missed this? That sounds so up my alley, man.
Oh, it's campy. It's totally campy. It's perfect. Like
Jesus, dude, if I could have watched Mystery Men when I went from a sophomore in high school to a sophomore in college, I might have done more stand-up stuff, because that sounds like it would have inspired me all over again.
It even has Tom. Do you know who Tom Waits is?
Yeah.
He's in it as the guy that invents the craziest shit, including like tornado grenades.
Oh, this sounds amazing.
It's truly amazing, and it's so. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg Kinnear. I forgot about this. I need to watch this movie again. Greg Kinnear plays the corporate Superman.
Oh, dude, this sounds.
He literally
beautiful.
has Pepsi logos on his suit.
How the hell did I miss this movie?
I don't know, but I love that you missed it, because it maybe needs to be on next week's docket. Like we might have to drop a Gosling or put a fourth movie.
No, we can. Okay, we'll push toward May or April being our superhero thing, and this will be like the comedy relief.
May's perfect.
Because
May's perfect, because that's when superhero movies come out.
Sure, and if we jump into the Snyder crap, this might be the breath of fresh air we need to get like through Justice League Snyder cut.
$70 million for an extra hour. We'll see.
Well, is it an extra hour though? Because here it's like 4 hours long.
It's hour and 20 then. The Justice League's already really long.
Right, but most of it's Whedon stuff that's been recut and re-edited. That was the whole issue.
I thought it was like 5 total minutes that he recut and re-edited, and just didn't put the rest of the stuff that they were shooting in.
Huh, that's not what I heard. I heard they spent like 75 million, and that's why Henry Cavill had most of his mustache stuff all wiggly.
Interesting.
And they stuck Snyder stuff on a shelf. And there's rumors that they were trying to boot him beforehand, and the whole family tragedy is just the reason they used to kick him out. That he was not even on the project like a year before it came out, and they just used the Joss Whedon thing as like a way to sweep it under the rug.
It's too political for me. I just want to watch the movie and say what I think about it. I'd rather care about real politics than movie politics, because
understandable. I'm just saying we should keep Mystery Men on the back burner. So if we do the Snyder cut and it sucks, this would be a good way to gas us up. But if it's good, this would be a good little payoff, like a little treat,
Agreed.
Because I haven't seen it. I would love to go into Snyder cut and actually enjoy it and watch this. But I'd also love to go into Snyder cut, hate it, and then watch this to bring me back.
I want you to watch it sooner than later, so I almost feel like if you watch it now, you'd have to rewatch it before we did a review, because I think you should watch it soon.
I will, but also I found out Snyder Cut comes out next month. It's coming out in March.
I thought it was coming out in May.
I thought so too, but I think it's dropping before Godzilla even.
If you watch the HBO, like if you look at what's coming, they've got a big blank spot in May.
Interesting.
And it didn't say anything about Snyder Cut.
Because I know that they dropped an official teaser recently, and I could have swore it said that they were planning on releasing the whole dang thing.
We could always look it up.
Okay.
I could always IMDb.
But yeah, okay. So what did you think of Warriors thing? Because I've been gushing all over this thing, and it's been like a seminal part of my growing up.
So it's hard to watch from somebody who's never seen it before. This is kind of like the way you felt about True Romance, that if you had seen it when you were younger, had I watched it in the 80s, I probably would have dug it, because it did show people from a raw and a much more real point of view than you'd expect. These were really kids on the street. Everybody was rough and tumble. Nobody spoke like New Yorkers. So that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, that was a little...
They weren't from New York, but it's still, to see that many people of color on screen playing major roles in a series, and all the characters had what seemed like equal parts. with the exception of Swan, who really stood out as the main character and got the girl and all that blah, blah, blah. And of course, it
Yeah.
plays out all the typical tropes you'd expect from all of the silver cinema. It continues on with those tropes, but in itself kind of turns it on the head, because you'd expect the way the movie played out for the protagonists to not necessarily win, at least in modern cinema.
Do you want my take on why the accents weren't so?
Sure.
Because in the 70s, they had a lot of issues with riots and blackouts and looting in New York. I wonder if maybe the story takes place here because this is where everyone went to make it as a gang. Because they said there's not but 10,000 police in the whole state, and they have 100,000 gangs. 20,000, yeah.
Yep.
If you can count suckers and all that speech. I wonder if this is where people went to try to make it, or that was the setup in the story, Because when you play the games, you get to see all of the different gangs, and I feel like the only people that were really from New York in the game were the Jones Street Boys, the Orphans, and maybe the Gramercy Riffs.
Now, when you say New York, what do you mean? There are 5 boroughs.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. I think they all came from around and the areas around, because I know the Warriors themselves are from Coney Island. That's where they try to get back to in the story.
Which they did a good job with that, by the way. I want to touch on that. Remind me.
Oh yeah, definitely. The journey to get there felt like that was the other thing I liked about it. The whole hero's journey. This one felt like one of those. Well,
they didn't know their way around anywhere, because they didn't ever leave home, because that's not how it works. You stay on your territory, period. And I liked that. Yeah. And when they got home, they were like, I'm going to take him here. They knew exactly where they were going, and nobody else did. And that's what I'm saying. The director's cut kind of ruins it, because they give you the whole spiel about the Spartans and fighting the Persians and blah, 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 blah. And it sets up all this subtext that you're like, oh, if I know that story, I kind of know how this is going to go. Right.
But in the Warriors movie, even without all the context of the games and knowing the backstory, you know that these guys travel by subway. So when that subway gets taken out of the scene, they're screwed. They got to go based on what connections they can find and whatever. And I think that's a really nice way of how they grounded it.
I really
by
enjoyed
having them hop on the
right. No, I agree, because it took out their only means of getting where they know to go, and it forced them onto the ground. And I did like that the one kid was like, "Who started the fire? We should worry about that." I'm like, these are smart kids. They actually are. They're cautious. They are. Right. They're not stupid. They're street smart. And
you know who did that?
What?
Who started the fire?
Who started the fire?
That was the Orphans.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Yeah, it's not really explained through subtext, but when they talk, when they're parlaying on the street, the guys tell them like, "Yo, we started that riot," and the guy snaps and pulls out that newspaper clipping. In the game, you get to play that riot. The Orphans cause a blackout, and it causes everyone to start looting in the streets. And that's actually the first time that the Warriors themselves run into the Baseball Furies.
Interesting. I think
because they beat the ever-loving shit out of the Orphans, and the Warriors have to escape.
Interesting. I think the bathroom scene where they take on the overall gang,
Jones Street Boys.
Yeah, that is one of the best scenes in the entire flick.
Oh God, yeah.
Seeing baseball bats being broken and really watching some really good stunts and watching the choreography. And I have to say, the extras direction in this movie is fantastic, because there's so many extras in the beginning of the film, and even during scenes like that where they're technically extras because they have no speaking lines and they're just extra stunt doubles, if you will.
For sure.
They did such a good job of incorporating that. So I see all the elements that everybody likes about this film.
Right.
I do. I see all the elements.
And a lot of that's practical. Like, that lady really bit that dude, and those dudes really beat the crap out of each other. And they had props for sure, but like, you're still on roller skates in a freaking bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when that door broke open, that wasn't like a freaking stunt door. That was a dude losing his momentum and flying through it.
No, and I like that. But do I think it has a good story?
It's more about the journey. You're not watching it because, like,
I know. It's more like a
You're
video
looking for
game.
Shakespeare. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think me hitting it from that angle first before I seen it, like it resonated with me so much more because I had the full context.
Yeah, I'm not going to bash on the film. I definitely see its point, its place in culture. I definitely see its place in movie history. It's like
I
watching
totally think
Mad
you
Max.
could bash on it though. Like if you weren't into this genre or you didn't like video games or you weren't even into like the hero's journey, this thing is like boring as hell, man, and really weird to people.
Everybody's
nowadays
into the hero's journey story. It's just which flavor.
for sure.
Because you pick your flavor, you'd be Luke, or it doesn't really matter. Pick a character.
Right.
Most of them have done a hero's journey, and that's why I don't like origin stories. That's usually the hero's journey story.
Right.
Usually. No, if I were to, rate the film now, it'd probably be like a 4.5. If I were to rate the film, if it came out in 78 and I was, 16, 17, 18 years old when it came out, I would probably say more like an 8. And I'm aware of that, but there's a lot of misogyny in the film that's really toxic at this point. A lot of it. And there's a lot of, I don't know, just language we don't use anymore, so it stands out stronger. Maybe that's just me, but it's just for me.
On one hand, I totally agree. But on the other hand, like it's also a 78 film.
Mm-hmm.
And every single outfit lets you know that like this is a hyper realized version of something that existed. My favorite scene in the whole damn movie, in this whole movie about people beating the shit out of each other, is that final trip home when they're on the train just worn down and beaten the fuck up.
The couple.
And that the couple come on, yeah. And then they like sit there having their good time laughing after prom or some sort of dance. And she's got the corsage and they're like really enjoying it. And like the gals look at him really longingly. And the other dudes look at him like, what the hell are you doing on my train? And then they finally lock eyes and get all quiet.
I think the girl wanted to be in that life for a minute.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When she goes to fix her hair and he stops her.
Right.
Like,
it's a pride thing. They're like, no, we're from the streets. Don't you dare touch your hair.
And then he gives her the corsage like that. Freaking, that gives me life.
It shows you he's human. And he's not the Ajax character.
For sure. And there's so many dumb things in the movie that I could see you could totally have problems with the Leslie's thing. The whole like evil lesbians thing was kind of weird. I thought they were a badass gang, but I could see why you'd have problems with that being like.
I don't think they were lesbians.
They start making out like there's some of them making out in the thing though.
And doesn't necessarily mean that they're lesbians.
No, but I'm saying, Eric, I'm saying that if you've seen them as demonized for trying to get our quote unquote heroes, I could see why you would have problems with that.
True. I thought it as an equalizing
I thought they were
factor,
badass. They're one of my favorite gangs in the whole series.
No, I agree. And what I'm saying is, what I was trying to say is agree with you that I think that they were badass, and it's a time in which women weren't given that stage where they were equal, and they were an equal gang amongst the rest of the men, and they were an unknown gang. It didn't seem like the other male gangs knew about them.
Yeah, they totally what's the word I'm thinking of?
Catfish.
They totally no, not that, not even though. The Warriors underestimated them. And my favorite thing is they did a thing the Warriors did to win. They brought them to their turf. Yep. They locked the door, and then they tried to kill these assholes. And I was like, that is so freaking awesome. Because everyone else just tries to brute force their way through this whole problem. The Furies chase everyone down because they're, LARPing athlete guys that dress in baseball uniforms, and the skinhead dudes are chasing people down in the van with their denim on, and the Jones Street dudes are surfing through the subways on their rolling blades. But those are the only ones that actually try to pull them into their own world and then take advantage of the situation. And I think, had they caught, two of them without Vermin there, or not Vermin, Vermont? Rembrandt, that's his name, Rembrandt the painter. If he wouldn't have been there to keep Vermin and Cochise, on a level head, they would have got totally taken out.
I like how there were 8, then there were 7, and then they added the girl back to make it 8 again. It was really nice that they did that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But there's one person that we haven't talked about. Did my microphone die?
No, I think you're good.
Hold on. We might have a problem.
Uh-oh. Did we stop streaming?
Maybe.
Oh, that'd be really sad.
I think we did. Wait.
Oh, no.
No, hold on. I think we went weird for a minute, but we're back. I think. I hope.
Hey, chat. How's it going?
If there's anybody in the chat, can you tell us if we're still here? All right. Smash Brothers says we're good. All right.
Cool.
So
Yeah, just to go on the record, I think the Leslie's are my favorite gang. They were just out of all the ones that handled the situation. I think the Furies looked the coolest if you were collecting like figures from the film.
Mhm.
They just look like something straight out of Manhunt, which is another Rockstar game.
of course.
And there's also references to that. One of the crazy killers in that game has a Baseball Furies jacket. And we could totally go into little snidbits and facts. Snidbit tidbits for MrSnidBitS. I think that gang was my favorite though. It'd be like in terms of coolness factor, all right, them, the Riffs, the Warriors, and then like it's a mix up of whoever. I really hated the main antagonist though.
Oh no,
What the hell
okay.
they call?
So I got to touch on that because that's a must. Okay, because I
Okay.
told you about the mystery man attachment, right? And
Yeah.
you got to see that. But there's another movie that's fully attached to this movie. Okay.
Interesting.
So, real quick, I wanted to mention the DJ. I believe that
Oh,
that is the lady that plays the main character on the TV show Carmen Sandiego. She was the one that did all the questions.
What?
Yeah, she's the one that was always like, the one behind the counter asking the kids the questions during the show. She was the host.
You know, I think is it the same gal?
I think so.
Interesting.
She's been in a lot of other things, but that's where my brain, because I grew up in that era, and I always remember her from Carmen Sandiego.
They've cast her from other things using that reference, and that's another thing that goes to show that this movie's got legs, and they've been taken from it since like it came out in '78.
I'm gonna look right now.
Because I swear I heard that she popped up in something else to do another like DJ mysterious radio thing. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Like, all right, the settings and themes in this movie, I really love that there's like this network of gangs and they call into the radio station and that's their way of getting around. Because like even without technology, you wonder like how would they stay connected? They call into a radio station. It's probably pirate radio given all the crime going on in, that era of New York. And I just think that's really freaking cool that that's the network and the orphans aren't on that network regardless of them having the numbers. But when they get taken out by the Warriors become more notorious. And so, of course, like other gangs are going to be looking for them now that they can be like, yeah, they're down in this area. They beat the crap out of these nobodies.
Agreed.
There's so much to love about all this movie that like even the stuff that people hate, I understand it, but it will always have like this movie will be like rose tinted for me forever, I believe.
I am trying to see if I'm wrong.
Like James Remar would have to like run me over with his car. And even then if he said sorry, I'd probably be like, it's okay, Ajax. I love you.
Yeah. It's weird to see him now and then know that that's where he got his start.
Oh man. So you want to talk about that park scene?
Yeah, tell me about the park scene and then I'm going to tell you about that other movie attachment.
So when they were shooting auditions, James Remar came in and he read for that scene right there. That was the one where they're trying to cast Ajax as the tough guy. He literally handcuffed himself to the table and then lifted it up, getting into character. Wasn't trying to, was just reading off the lines and then started doing some of the stuff. So when they got to shooting that actual scene, he had to tone it down because he moved the bench on accident.
They actually kept that in there for a second because it does move the bench.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But when he went in to do the audition, he cuffed himself to a sturdy table, like an oak table, and then almost destroyed the handcuffs doing the thing because he had legit police officer handcuffs because he was a method actor, and that's how he auditioned for it.
Okay, so her name is Lynn Thigpen, and Lynn has been in a lot of things actually. So one of them is exactly what I said. She is the host of The Chief in that show. Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? She played that part for 4 years, and that's what I remember. And then she was also the female president in the Bicentennial Man movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Anger Management, Shaft, Novocaine, several TV shows, Law and Order, Sesame Street.
That's so awesome.
So she's been around, and she is awesome. So very cool. Nice to bring her up and talk about her because she was great addition.
So I just remembered.
Because she's intimidating in that movie.
Oh yeah, dude, totally. Well, the whole silhouette thing, that's another thing too. Okay, you see that aesthetic taken in so many different things. Mm-hmm. The mysterious silhouette, and I know it's very it's not obviously the Warriors didn't come with it first, and it's very Electric Company for anyone that remembers that or has watched I Love the 80s and 70s. Mm-hmm. The whole people talking and stuff through shadowy backgrounds that could even be attributed to Bond openings and whatnot. But to see a supporting character, I guess, like the narrator, you could call her. Like that was a really cool role, and I think that like this whole freaking movie just oozes like ambiance and
I got to tell you what Smash
radness.
Brothers said.
Oh God, what?
He's like, laugh out loud. I'm glad I picked one that Fry Guy loves.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know this was coming before we knew that he picked it, and I was just like, yes.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So
he was
the
happy.
gang that what I don't want to spoil it, but the gang that starts off this whole inciting incident, they're called the Rogues. And the fun fact is, they drive around in this. It's basically the Ghostbusters vehicle.
Mhm.
It's like an old repurposed hearse. They don't say for sure. You never even find out in video game form, but they may have been cop killers and informants because the main leader has a badge on his shirt. So they may have been the gang snitching on other people, but then also would take out clean cops to help dirty cops stay undercover.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah, there's a lot of world building in that.
That's a perfect segue. So the leader of that gang, that actor, has been in a few other films.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the films he's in is The Crow. And guess what he plays? A gang leader.
Well, who's he in The Crow?
He plays the leader of that gang. Now, he's not the head, like, Godfather of the City guy, the guy that's played by the creepy dude from Robin Hood. He's the one that, you know, the fire it up, guys, fire it up. He's the head of that small gang.
Interesting.
And they go around the city burning things and torturing. He's literally playing the same character, and it's a throwback to the Warriors.
Huh. I'm going to kill your soul a little bit, though.
Please.
Have not seen The Crow. Yeah. I was a little too young. I remember going around for Halloween and everyone being dressed up as Brandon Lee, but I didn't get into. Yeah, I didn't get into that sort of action film until we moved to Oregon. So, like pre-2000s, I wasn't watching those kind of movies. Okay. Basically, The Matrix is what put me on the action adventure kick.
Timing out.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got May's beginning movies. Okay.
Rad. I've always wanted to watch it. By the way, I have no reason for not watching it.
Mystery Men and The Crow, because they're both comic book movies. How you haven't seen them is beyond me.
Dude, yeah, that's wild. I've always wanted to watch it, but like also I was really sad hearing about what happened to Brandon Lee, and like I was such a big Bruce Lee fan that like I don't know, I guess maybe I didn't feel like I was emotionally ready to watch that.
It sucks because you could see the talent that was coming out of him. He was going to definitely surpass his dad in acting ability.
I was such a sensitive kid too that like just knowing the guy wasn't around anymore and knowing he died shooting the movie was just like I don't know, it's like pre-traumatizing, I guess you could call it. Like I psyched myself out not wanting to watch it because like I don't know, something about it just seemed bigger than just a movie.
I agree.
And I was like, I was all up in Bruce Lee's business, man. I was watching all of his stuff, even
so you watched Enter the Dragon and all that.
Yeah, and then the one they made where like they freaking put his face on a mirror and then like had the actor stand there. I watched that one too.
Did you watch the Bruce Lee story? The one where they totally do his life incorrectly?
No.
That's okay.
I was a big fan of the Ip Man movies though, because those are tied into like the dude that taught him.
Never seen him.
I think it is.
Never seen.
They're really good, dude. It's Donnie Yen at his best, I think.
Oh, not in Rogue One.
No, Rogue One's nice. That's a good film, and I love his character. I am one with the forces with me. It's one of my favorite Star Wars catchphrases to come out of anything. But Donnie Yen plays such a humble, badass, like warrior monk dude in those movies. They're worth watching. They get progressively more ridiculous and less likable in terms of like just like underdog stories, but they're still entertaining. They're totally worth watching just for the fighting.
Okay. Don't get me wrong.
Well, because like the first two
Tony Jaa and stuff
movies,
like that I like. So
yeah, the first two movies are literally like a film biography of Bruce Lee's teacher, and the other ones are just like inciting incidences to get Donnie Yen to fight like Mike Tyson or some other American dude. And they have good stories, but like Ip Man 3 and 4 are definitely like the Rocky 4 of the Ip Man movies, where you can enjoy them, but you can tell there's some weird like let's just get these dudes to fight because reasons.
So they jumped the shark at that point.
Yeah, but they're still entertaining. Like, I would totally say Ip Man 1 and 2 are definitely Rocky 1 and 2, if we're going parallels to just fighting movies. And they definitely go Rocky route. But the nice thing is they kind of don't go weirder than 4. There's like 5 Ip Man movies, but you can still watch them and enjoy them.
I haven't seen a Rocky movie since I was a kid, so I've only seen the
I don't
original
remember
Rocky
any of them.
once, and I saw it when I was like 5 or 6. And then, of course, I grew up with like 3 and 4.
Right.
And, I've never, no offense to Sylvester Stallone. I think that he's great in certain roles and fun, but I've always been an Arnold guy.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Stallone writes a hell of a movie, and he's like definitely had some stuff behind the scenes and got some things off the ground, and I respect him for that.
Right.
But I agree, I've been a Schwarzenegger guy myself.
Or I was a big Jean-Claude Van Damme fan back in the day.
Well, also, okay, yeah, that's true. I was Chuck Norris for some reason until I saw him fight Bruce Lee, and then like he was dead to me.
But they used to work together a lot.
I know. I'm just saying. I grew up watching Chuck Norris's goofy action films, and I loved them. And then I watched
Texas Ranger.
Yeah, my wife just said Walker, Texas Ranger. Exactly. I grew up on that stuff with the America. And then I watched the movie where Bruce Lee beats the ever-loving piss out of him, and I was like, "Who is that guy?" And then I was Bruce Lee ever since.
Oh, you switched teams. I see.
Yo, yeah, totally. There was no contest.
This movie,
Okay.
The Warriors, made me want to play Double Dragon. It made me
Oh, dude,
want to
I'll have
watch
to
The Crow.
get you. I have an original Xbox if you want to borrow it and play the first game, and it's co-op. So
Isn't it digital? Couldn't we just get it through Xbox 360 through the Xbox One?
we cannot. It's not backwards compatible, but I could loan you my PS3, which has a digital copy, or if we got you a PS4, you can play it on the newer Sony consoles. It's just not backwards compatible.
You will not get me to play anything with a Sony controller.
Oh, there are ways.
I won't.
There are means and ways.
It hurts my arms because of the way I have to hold the controller. It actually hurts my nerve problem.
But they have different controllers now, and we could totally get you an ergonomic one. We just have to find the right third-party one that'll feel better, because they do have like Duke-sized controllers or Xbox-sized controllers. They're just not Sony licensed.
I like the offset. It just works better for my hands, but that's just me. You have it for the PS4 digital as well? Smash Bros. Has it too. You guys are both huge fans of this movie. This is kismet. That's awesome.
Dude. Yeah, this was a great recommendation. I'm so glad you picked it. I was just going to say, I think you might be able to play it better on the PS5. Their controllers seem to be a lot more user-friendly and, delicate to the touch. I have myself enjoyed the Xbox controller frame for most shooters and racers, but I find myself liking the Sony one for RPGs and whatnot. Basically Sony games, the games I play are freaking movies anyway. You pick it up for 10 minutes, you watch a 30-minute cutscene. You pick it up for 10 minutes, you watch a 30-minute cutscene. The Xbox is the one I use for like actual in-time, need fast reflexes gaming. So when you say that you don't like the controller, I get it. But the games I play, you barely have to touch it, so it never really registered for me.
For games, and I know this is way off the side, but the reason I don't play role-playing games like Final Fantasy is I don't like selecting from menus just to play a game.
Oh, dude, totally.
It's boring to me. They're doing all the work, and I'm just going, well, do this. And then it doesn't even do it the way I would choose to do it. That's why I liked Kingdom Hearts, because it was like Final Fantasy, but live action. And then,
for sure. Hey, and now they're on Xbox, so you can finally...
I know.
You can play them the way you want to.
They're not good anymore. And then the other half of that is I want to be involved in my game at all times. Cutscenes bug me, and I don't play video games for stories.
Interesting.
I play video games in order to interact. I really to shoot things and drive. That's what I want.
For sure. I feel you. And dude, growing up, I was the same way. I was a total Xbox fan right up until the PS3 came out, and I thought at the start it was really dumb for the games to be so cinematic, but something switched in me, and now I'm the kind of person that when I play a game for gaming, it has to be social, but when I play a game for leisure or relaxing, I like it to be a whole experience that has bits of gameplay, lots of story, lots of character, lots of world building. Because if I don't give a shit about why I'm there, I need to at least be having fun while I'm doing it. And that's why I didn't like Borderlands so much, because I had to play it alone. But when I got a chance to play Tales from Borderlands and I got into the story, I totally wanted to give it a shot again. I just didn't have the people. Yeah, I just didn't have the people to carry me through it. And these games are all great when you have that connection. And to tie this into the Warriors, one of the reasons I got so into this thing is because my friend and I we ran through the story together. And I'm going to spoil the game to an extent. When it takes place, you're playing as Rembrandt when he first starts, and you're playing as a whole new character named Ash. And the reason you don't see Ash in the film is because he dies in the game. So a quarter way through the game, you lose that character, and if you've been playing it from the beginning before you watch the movie, you are so tied to all of these people's lives that when you start seeing them go down in the movie, you're like, no, we just lost this guy that was so crucial in, the big gang fight we had to do to take the Bronx or something. So yeah, it just,
Man.
dude, it resonated with me at a perfect time of my life.
So for me, The Matrix did this because they have the Matrix games and people think they suck, but I'll tell you, man, they expand the world really, really well. You actually get to fight vampires and werewolves, which I love.
You actually get to fight. Are you talking about with the French dude's whole scenario?
Yep. In the game, you actually go in as Ghost and you get to fight them. It's pretty awesome.
Dude, okay, yeah, those movies and the tie-in games, that's the whole reason it got me, is because it was more story that you didn't get to see in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the start of I need things to happen outside of just being fun to play.
Right.
Because that was an actual movie tie-in. It wasn't just like, here's a cash, well, it might have been a cash grab because the controls were kind of crappy, but here's a subsequent thing to tell you what happened for the things you didn't actually see. And I'm all about
They're
that
relevant
jazz.
to the plot too, because if you didn't play the game, things that Jada Pinkett Smith's character and Ghost characters say to each other, as well as what's said to Neo, are directly related to that game.
Well, and they explained the whole cliffhanger, right? Like they explained what's going on and why they get there, the EMP and all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the Warriors and Enter the Matrix and Rockstar's The Warriors. I think this is what started that whole descent into I need my games to be more than just fun. And that's why I can, like, these movies, I can see why you'd have problems with them if you didn't watch them at the right time. But I think just the experience is enough to, like, carry me, because I can watch this movie now and think of all those fond times I had. And now that I know the connections to the other things, like the references in Manhunt and the stuff behind the scenes, it's like firing up an IMDb page in my brain, and that is get all these fun facts that I remember tied to the movie.
I feel that we were talking about the Nightmare series. I feel that way.
That's right. You want to hear another fun Easter egg about them shooting the film?
I do.
So much like Sons of Anarchy, when they got done filming, they had to take their vests off. Otherwise, actual gangs in New York would challenge them to a fight.
So that was one thing, and I get it. But why didn't they just take their freaking vests off?
It's a pride thing. We discussed that on the train.
Save your life.
Yeah, but they're dumb kids. They're like literally 20-year-olds. They're
No way.
street rats. That's
No
all
way.
they've ever known.
The oldest person in that film was 19.
No, for sure. But I'm saying they're not matured brains, don't know any better, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
They're like a bunch of uneducated latchkey kids that all they've ever known is fighting. And then they have to prove that they're the baddest. And they've also got a reputation at stake because people think they shot Cyrus.
They don't figure that out until the end, though.
No, but I'm just saying, though. Well, no, they do, because someone mentions it. There's two separate things. The three guys, Vermin, Cochise, and Rembrandt, hear the Lizzies say that. And then Swan, Snow, and Cowboy, I think, pick it up from the cops. So,
Okay.
like, right toward the end, they realize, like, oh, everyone's been trying to beat our ass, not because the truce is over, but because they think we're the one that ruined this whole gang utopia thing. Yeah, I need to read the book. That's the one thing I haven't done so far, just to complete the whole thing, because...
So that's something...
Yeah.
There's another series that I love that I've watched all of them, but I've never read the book, and that's The Thing.
Oh, what did they call that? Who Goes There? Is that what it's called?
I think it's called Who Goes There, and then they turned that into the movie in 1953, The Thing from Another World, and then John Carpenter's 1981, The Thing. And then, of course, they remade that in 13 or 14. And it wasn't a remake, it was actually a prequel.
Are you talking about the newer one?
Yeah, the newer one actually is what happens before what you see with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, you get to follow the Norwegian guys. That's pretty fun. Have you not seen that one?
Oh no, I have. I've seen them all. I just
Oh,
haven't
okay,
read the
good.
story. I've never read the book
Right.
or the short story. So
I didn't like the newer one, which is interesting.
it's okay.
When it first came out, it did that thing all new movies do, where they show you too much, whereas the original one had the suspense. There's a lot of lingering shots and mystery involved.
Sure.
And that's why I'm glad they have not redone this, because I feel like they would butcher it. It would just turn into like super serious Scott Pilgrim, and that's not what I want. Oh, another reference there, Scott Pilgrim, when he's fighting all the Lucas Lee stuntmen. There's music from the Warriors playing.
And of course, it seems like there's a bunch of different gangs that he has to fight. So there's already a bit of a Warriors attachment with the different nerd groups that he has to fight through.
Yeah, that's true. This movie's so freaking rad.
Anyway, so what would you rate this movie? A 10, an 11?
But yeah, I would crank this thing up to an 11, dude. Like, I totally get why people would not like this. I totally get why people would have problems with this. But like, if you sat down and you're like, man, I like Grand Theft Auto, but the early stuff, and I'm really nostalgic for like 70s, 80s, and I just want like a good, simple story where I follow these guys on a quest, I'd be like, yo, I got this thing for you. And then I would sit there and I'd show you this. And then if you're like, I loved it, but I need a little bit more, I'd show you the director's cut. And then I'd sit there and make you watch the freaking behind the scenes features. And yeah, this was one of those movies. Like, there were so many movies when I was growing up I didn't really give a damn about. I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know who that was, who this was. Somewhere around
Spinal
the
Tap
early
reference.
2000s. Yeah. Somewhere around the early 2000s, I just started getting into it. And this was one of those movies where I bought the latest edition and I sat down and I watched it. And then I watched all the special features. And then I did the subsequent thing. And then I went back and watched it again. And like every time it just got better for some reason, just knowing all this stuff. And like a lot of people, when they talk about these things they love, they get real gatekeepery about it and they don't want people to come and enjoy their thing. No, I would share this with anyone.
I don't understand
I don't
that. If you're,
I don't know.
if
I
you're
think
a fan,
everyone
love
like
it.
it.
Like, love
Yeah,
it.
I was seeing the gospels of this movie. Like when I was in high school and no one knew what the Warriors were, there are like 10 games that I bought copies of for people. This was one of them. I remember I gave like 10 of these things away just as I was like, dude, you gotta play this. And then people were like, oh, I'm not getting into it. I'm like, well, I'll come over for the weekend because there's a co-op mode. And by the end, like, people generally got it and liked it. And I will always sing this movie's praises unless like something terrible happens and Ajax like kills me. And even then, I will think of it fondly in the afterlife.
So you've never rated anything in 11 before?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't.
So in my category, you would rate this a 10 because it's a rewatchable, you know, the kind of movie that nothing's perfect, but it's as perfect as it has been.
No, this is like a 10 plus though. This is like a 10 ...
So let's say there's literally a ceiling and you can't go above 10. You're going to give this the highest 10 possible.
I'm going to poke my head through the ceiling. I will break the time-space barrier and find a dimension where I'm on the roof.
Smash
and then I'm
Bros.
singing this movie's praises.
You really did. You found the movie that just like, I've never heard Ed talk quite this fast. It's pretty awesome.
This movie's rad, and I love everything about it, and I still need to read the book, but I totally suck at reading now because my attention span is ass. But I'm going to get there. I'm going to make the effort for this because I totally remembered it has a novelization.
Your attention span is ass. When I think of an ass, I think of Eeyore, but Eeyore is really slow and methodical, so really you could read.
I could, but it's a struggle. But I'm ready to aboard the struggle bus for this thing.
I still think you should read Ready Player One, and I keep saying that, but I'm going to put it out there on the internet too. What do you think, Smash Bros? Have you ever read that book?
I will read that before I read the Warriors novel.
Sweet. See if Smash Bros has read the Ready Player One. And please don't tell me you've seen the movie because it's not the same, but I understand if you do because this is a movie review show, so it makes sense.
I also live like 3 blocks away from a library, so I have no excuse other than I have 2 days off a week because of work. But still, I will find a way to get Ready Player One.
I'm glad because you do need to watch it. No, you've never read it. Okay. If you like 80s movies, because I know you guys both like the Warriors, and that leads right into a bunch of 80s movies and pop culture like we've been talking about. This book is 80s pop culture references, the book. and it's got a really good and classic story built into it. So it's got some fun, great tropes, some great character development. You like the main characters. There's some good twists and turns. It's fantastic. There's nothing about it that I wouldn't say that doesn't resonate with nerds. So if you're a movie person, if you're a gaming person, if you like D&D, if you like any of that kind of stuff, this totally fits. You got to read it. Don't let somebody spoil it for you, and don't watch the movie first. I never say that. I don't normally care because I usually like watching the movie. So when I read the book, I have characters to reference to, even if it pisses people off, because I'm not ready to just imagine what they look like in my head. My head usually gets kind of a wishy-washy, fuzzy version. And then when I watch the movie, it solidifies it for me. And so
that makes sense.
Don't watch the movie first. I don't think that they did a good job with the main two characters in the film. They are the Hollywood classified, like classically Hollywoodized versions of the characters in the movie, in the book. And the characters in the book actually have heart and are real nerds.
But it draws from a lot of different wells, though, right? Like there's something in it for everyone, pretty much.
It draws from every well in the 80s, from music, comic books, gaming, movies, you name it. If you like the movie, or if you like the band Rush, it's brought up a lot in the book.
Nice. That's pretty rad. Yeah, I'm surprised they never made a game out of it, because, man, I swear if they would have made a game, I would have already been over this thing.
I don't think they could make a game of it.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, it probably wouldn't be as good, because, that's always an issue when you go from reading things to actually playing interacted. But I think they would have tried. I feel like I would have given it a shot, because I've even I did not watch Jaws before I played the Jaws game, but they made a game, so I gave it a shot, and I was like, this is ass. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like, this is great.
Oh, that's one of the best monster movies. We're totally going to have to review Jaws this next month, because
yeah, for sure.
That's
one. And I'm glad I've seen it, but like, there's so many things that, like, when they make a game out of it, whether the game's good or bad, it makes me want to experience the thing it's based on.
Agreed.
Agreed. And that's why, like, I get with movie remakes, people are probably tired of that, but whenever they remake a game, that gives me context to want to go experience the original. And I think that's the intention behind all the, soulless Hollywood cash grabber ideas that a lot of artists get to. They want to share something with someone that they remember experiencing really well, and if it works well, then you usher people into a thing that they should have already experienced but get a chance to finally.
Right.
So.
No, that makes sense. I'm going to rate the Warriors, like I said, a 4 if I were to rate it today, but probably closer to a 7 or 8 if I was younger, which means that I'm going to average the 2 and give it a 6.
Well, I got to know, why a 4? Like, what is the things that, I need to know your criticisms. Like, what drags it down for you?
I don't care about them.
No, that's fair.
Nothing.
Like, there's totally
they don't draw me in as characters. I don't care that they're in trouble or that they're being. There's not enough character development ahead of time, I think, and I don't like developing that little tiny bit of character development as I go. I need a little bit more than that, is what it boils down to. And again, I do understand. I get it. I understand why this movie is what it is. I don't know. It's maybe a movie I'll revisit again in the future, but not one that I'm jazzed about.
For sure. That makes sense. And I feel like if we watch enough movies too, you might go back and like think more fondly of it. Agreed. Like you said, when you're talking about Mystery Men, going back and seeing a lot of that. But also, like, I feel like a movie like this wouldn't exist now without each person getting their own damn movie, which would totally kill it, and like that kind of ruins the vibe.
Agreed. Smash Bros was talking about the Lord of the Rings video games and how they kind of prove that, movie grab video games are but the movies are okay or good. I have my own problems with the Lord of the Rings movies, big time, big time.
The Lord of the Rings games to me are better than the movies. And I never was a big fantasy guy. I think Lord of the Rings is what got me into Star Wars initially. But when I first started playing the game, the first Lord of the Rings game, was not tied to the movies. It was more based on the books. And it was brutal as hell, and it almost made me cry as a kid. And then when the Two Towers came out, I actually broke my ankle in 6th grade, and I was holed up on the couch for a week.
Really?
And that game kept my mind off my pain. And I sat there for a week straight, no shower. It was hurt too much to even move. My leg got the size of like a grapefruit. And I 100%ed that game on the GameCube. And we had just gotten one of those big fat ass TVs that was big screen back then, but it also looked like a freaking, you know, it looked like a TV box basically.
Right.
And we hooked up surround sound, and I freaking played this shit out of that game. And I was Gimli mostly. I like Gimli a lot. Um, and yeah, I 100%ed it as everyone. I ran through it as Gimli, ran through it as Legolas, ran through it as Aragorn, got all the secrets, got all the upgrades. And I'm pretty sure that was one of those games like the Warriors that was meant to be played with friends. But
Probably much like Gauntlet.
yeah. Yeah, basically. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a hack and slash thing. There's nothing fancy or special about that. It's just fun for people to get into films that probably don't care about the reason why everyone's walking around Middle Earth.
Right.
But yeah, those movies all have a special place because of shit like that. And I think that's why the Warriors resonated with me, because I had the game experience first. And so by the time I went to go see The Two Towers in theaters, that's still my favorite movie of all of them. And that's probably because I spent a week on the couch playing that damn game, just getting it off my mind, not thinking about the pain in my leg while my bones were like regrowing.
No, fair. I do think that we have gone way over the time that I expected. We're 20 minutes over. That's okay. But I do think we need to wrap it up because my baby needs some attention, and my wife also would like some attention. And dwarves in D&D are fun. I agree. I always usually play a human and a barbarian with low intelligence and lots of brute strength because you always need a tank.
We got to talk about D&D at some time because I've only played like a dozen times in my life.
We can play a lot of different things, and we could even include maybe Smash Bros wants to Discord D&D with us or something. We could do that and even stream it as a whole other thing. That'd be fun.
Oh man, I'm all sad. We didn't get to any movie pitches tonight.
Movie pitches?
Yeah, because we had Angel in the chat.
Yeah. Angel, there was a little thing he said. He said, so I've got another movie idea I'm playing. Okay, I do, but it's in the works sometime later. So the Angel already said they'll be back to tell us next time.
Okay.
So no worries there. We didn't miss anything there. We did cover our 3 movies. And again, for Smash Bros. And what other potential viewer is here, we are going to be doing 3 more movies next week. All Ryan Gosling films, including The Nice Guys, The Big Short, as well as Angel baited
Crazy
you.
Stupid
That's true.
Love.
As well as Crazy Stupid Love. All Ryan Gosling films. If you don't like Ryan Gosling, you can come and bash on him. If you love him, come and tell us how much you love him. But that's what we're going to be doing. Anything else to add, Fry Guy?
This was a lot of fun because I always knew I liked the Warriors. I didn't realize I liked it this much.
Yeah, I did. And it was a blast listening to you because honestly, I'm usually the one gushing about a film on that level. And so it's really cool to go the other way.
And I'm excited for next week because I've only seen one of these Ryan Gosling movies. And I've been looking forward to all of them. I just forgot to watch them.
That's awesome. I have seen all of them.
Nice.
That's okay. They're all good and for different reasons. And I will really enjoy talking about Nice Guys with you. That is one of my favorite buddy cop movies ever made. And then I will also enjoy talking about The Big Short because it's a fairly complex film, and definitely make sure when you're watching The Big Short that you are not distracted by something else.
For sure. And I was going to say the themes are very different. I know Nice Guys and Crazy Stupid Love are kind of comedies, but they're all wildly different in tone and approach. So
right. So
we're
Nice
going to have to
Guys
figure
is
out how we want to tackle this.
yeah. Nice Guys is actually a 70s buddy cop drama.
Right on.
Dramedy.
Already
it's a
liking
drama.
this.
It's a dramedy. And it's aware of itself. It knows what film it is. And then Crazy Stupid Love is just a very fun, different approach to a romantic comedy. And then The Big Short is a heavy duty movie, but it's definitely of course, yeah. Farm away, sir, and of course let us know when you redeem. Let us know what it is. Of course, next week would be best when we're live, and I think Ed and I might be trying to figure out another night of the week to do a second set of movie reviews where we're just off the chain and talking about whatever, maybe talking TV shows, comics, maybe like a hodgepodge night. Where we just talk everything that we want to talk about and then leave the reviews for these specific movies every week. So we've been kicking that
Maybe
around
just
as an idea.
topical stuff too.
Right. Something going on that week or previews coming up or like, the Snyder cut before it's released and after, and really kind of getting into it, just starting to get into the thick. And we would, of course, love to start doing movies that are really new so that we can review them as they come out. So
That's the dream.
thank you guys for being here. We're going to go ahead and raid somebody. Let's see if there's anybody even worth raiding. Hey, Racket's on. We'll go ahead and raid this fella. He does Minecraft, but it looks like he's playing Valheim right now, which I think is the new, like... Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, Salty Dog just went live. I am totally raiding Salty Dog.
To the dog.
Come on. Type for me, computer, Captain Salty Dog. No results found. Lies. Computer lies. I'm going to raid Salty Dog. Hype, hype, hype. Look at, he's even got the hype for the dog. Hold on. I'm going to refresh that. Hopefully it didn't affect that. It did not. Good. Now we're going to hit this. And he's still not on there. What the crap? It literally just showed me he was on. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to see if he's on because this is really bugging me. I want to rate him. Yeah.
Does it show people live if they pop on for just a second?
No, he's literally on. I literally just went to his page and I see him on right now, but he's not popping up, so I'm going to have to do it the classic way.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Raid. No. Yes, it is. Raid Captain Salty. Man. Captain Salty Dog. Here we go. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Ba-ba-doop, ba-da-doop, do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Here we go. Thank you guys. Have a great evening.